Countdown for blast off. X minus 5, 4, 3, 2, X minus 1, fire. From the far horizons of the unknown come transcribed tales of new dimensions in time and space. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in a million, could be years, on 1,000 maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, presents
X minus 1.
Tonight. The time is 1965. The place, a golf course. The story, open warfare.
You wouldn't believe it, but there are some people that think that caddy is a pet name for a big car. No, I mean it. Over those little wagons you pull around the course or carrying their own clubs, there are people actually playing golf for years, never seen a caddy. As far as I'm concerned, you take a human element out of golf or any sport, and what do you got left? Nothing. I mean, you could say I'm prejudiced on account of my being a caddy, but that's the way I feel about it. Besides which, a caddy is a perfect observer of the passing parade of human experience. I'll give you for instance. Now, you take Jim Pearson. He won the U.S. Open in 1960, 61, and 64. Well, let me tell you about Jim Pearson. He was the pro at the club here, and I remember when it all started. He was out playing with Mr. Hatcher. That Sam Hatcher. He couldn't break 90 if the ball had wings. And in the locker room, he looked like a sack of flour that had been set down hard. But he was loaded with money. Anyway, they were waiting for a foursome of dames who shouldn't have been wearing slacks. When Hatcher turned to Jim, and with a real sweet smile, he lowered the boom.
Jim, you're a good golfer.
Thank you, Mr. Hatcher.
You're a good golfer, even if you can't teach me anything.
Oh, you're coming along fine, Mr. Hatcher.
We've been good to you at the country club, haven't we?
Oh, yes.
I want you to do something for me.
Yes, sir?
Stay away from my daughter.
Oh, Mr. Hatcher.
I won't have Alice marrying a man who has nothing but coordination and muscles.
What?
When I was only your age, I was making $50,000 a year. It takes brains to do that. Brains get more valuable. Muscles deteriorate. There's nothing muscles can do that a machine can't do better.
You don't think I could make $50,000?
I know you can't. You haven't got the guts.
Now, listen, Mr. Hatcher.
I'm just quoting history, Jim. Take the tournament in St. Louis. You blew up. And the Goodall in the Palm Beach. You could have won all those. But you blew. You chickened out.
That's not exactly fair, Mr. Hatcher.
But it's true.
I can make $50,000.
Yes, in your whole life.
Oh, no, in 1 year.
Oh, you can?
Yes, sir.
All right, Jim, you're a sportsman. I'll tell you what I'll do. If you can make $50,000 in 1 year at this infantile pastime that you call golf, you can have Alice.
Why, that's the most arrogant
What's
thing.
the matter, Jim? Don't you think you can do it?
I know I can do it.
All right, then. Is it a bet?
All right. All right, it's a bet.
Very well, then. I believe the ladies are finished. Shall we drive?
Naturally, old man Hatcher set a trap for him. And I guess it worked pretty good, too. Jim knew I heard the whole thing, so he used to talk it over with me. Hey, you've been doing real good this season, Mr. Pearson.
Sure. Been away on the whole circuit. I haven't seen Alice more than 1 day at a time in the last 6 months.
You, hear from Miss Hatcher?
Oh, yes. Yes, I got a telegram right after I won the first tournament. It said, and I quote, "I won't be bought and sold. Signed, Alice."
She found out about that bet, huh?
Yeah, I'm sure her father made sure she did.
Wouldn't it frost you?
It did. It cost me $5,000 in tournament money, and then I just got mad. You know, the cold mad, the kind of mad that puts 20 yards on your drive?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Sometimes when I get sore at the caddy master, I go out to the driving range. Bango! Every time you hit it, you get it right between his eyes.
Yeah, that's the idea. Every time I slam a ball down the fairway, I feel as if I've just belted Hatcher right behind the ear.
You, still figure you got a chance?
Oh, I'm going to get that $50,000 this year, all right. I'm going to win the U.S. Open, and that's worth $25,000 in cash plus vaudeville appearances or Ed Sullivan's television show or something. And I'm going to take the money, and I'm going to lay it in front of Alice, and I'm going to say, I wasn't buying you. I was buying the right to tell you I love you.
Oh, gee, that's pretty.
All right, never mind. Give me a number 79.
Jim Pearson sure was burning up the circuit. He came into the U.S. Open the man to watch. The day the tournament opened, Jimmy Cannon had in his column, "You are Jim Pearson, the hard luck boy with the velvet swing." It was real philosophical. All the sports writers picked him to win. And then Saul showed up. We was on a practice tee. Jim had been sharpening up his number one wood when all of a sudden the gallery took off like a batch of big birds. They were around another tee about 100 feet away. Jim knocked off and the two of us strolled over.
Hey, that's some swing. Who is that, Pete?
I never seen him before. His name's Saul.
That's some swing. Yeah, he's no amateur. I've never seen him on the pro circuit.
Hey, Mr. Pearson, look at the caddy.
280 yards down there.
That ain't what I mean. Look, he's got a ball bag in his hands. Now watch.
Oh, that's a good catch. He caught that ball right in the bag.
Mr. Pearson, that caddy didn't move that sack. That ball dropped right in 280 yards away.
Oh, it's an accident.
Yeah, look, it happened again.
He's a trick shot artist. Wait till he gets into competition.
I don't know. He just hit another one, dead center.
Oh, there isn't anybody that good. Not even old Joe Kirkwood.
Quite a spectacle, eh, Jim?
Oh, hello, Hatcher.
Must be unnerving to watch something like that.
I can stand it.
But will you be able to stand it when the going gets rough? Will you blow up like you always do? It'll be too bad just when you're so close.
Don't worry about me.
I'm not. I imagine Saul will take care of that.
Oh, you know him?
I brought him here. My own personal entry. He's going to beat you out of the open. But he's got something to learn. Look at him. Just a dumb country boy who never saw a golf club till a few months ago. I think he might teach you something, Jim.
Oh, I could tell Jim was going to have a good day the minute he took his driver out of the bag. He took his practice swings, and they went around clean, grooved, and loose. I would have bet my shirt on him. As a matter of fact, I did. The crowd was sympathetic. They wanted to see him burn up the course.
Well, Pete, we all ready?
Yeah.
What's this? New kind of golf ball?
Oh, yeah, a young fella from the A.B. Wells Sporting Goods Company. He slipped me a fin to talk you into using these balls.
Well, I don't know. They any good?
Yeah, I figured. They guaranteed they had 20 yards to every drive.
I sure could use 20 yards.
Well, he's going to come around to see you later. He wanted to sign you up for testimonials and advertising and things. You know, the golf ball used by Jim Pearson when he won the U.S. Open. That kind of thing. There's a lot of dough in it.
Well, we'll give it a try. Let's tee up.
Oh, he started off real good. A long, straight drive right down the fairway. It was a birdie 4. Jim was clicking him off that day.
There you are, Pete. 34 and a 32 for 66 on the 18. 6 birdies, 12 pars.
Yeah, 3 more rounds like that should win easy. Hey, how are the new golf balls?
Huh? Oh, fine. You know, they aren't kidding. It does average out about 20 yards longer on the drive. I'll have to get a couple more dozen.
We went around and watched Jim's score being posted on the big board. Most of the field was still out, but he was ahead of the closest competitor by 3 strokes.
Who's that?
Oh, somebody coming down the 18th. It must be a hot round. I'll be posting it in a minute.
Oh, Saul.
Hmm?
Yeah, you see, there he is, walking through the crowd.
Yeah.
Well, here comes the secretary with the score.
Hey, Mr. Pearson, look at it. 32 and 32, 64. 64, that's a new course record.
Yeah, well, it's only the first round.
New course record. Look at that. 3s and 4s, 3s and 4. He ain't over 4 for the whole day.
What's the matter, Jim? You don't look well.
One round is not a tournament.
Well, comfort yourself while you can. Saul's just getting warmed up. He's that mythical thing, the perfect golfer. But he's dumb. No brains, Jim. No brains at all.
Naturally, in the sports broadcasts and the newspapers, Jim could have been playing on a miniature golf course at Asbury Park, New Jersey. The big news was Saul. They all called him Silent Saul. The odds the boys in the shower room played around with on Pearson took a dive, and you couldn't get even money for Saul. The next morning, Jim's gallery was pretty small. When he stepped up to the ball, it was a smattering of applause like a matinee just before they closed the show. But his drive was as straight as the day before and longer by about 20 yards on the average. Hey, that's a nice putt, Mr. Pearson.
Yeah. Who's that?
That's Saul, I'm afraid. He's coming around behind you.
Well, he's going to have a big fight.
Jim's second 9 was a duplicate of the day before. Another 32. He equaled Saul's record-tying score of yesterday. Then when we came in to read it on the big board, he looked like somebody hit him on the head with a driver.
Look at that, Pete. 31 out, 31 back for a 62. He's got me by 2 strokes today.
And 4 strokes in all. What do you got to say, Jim?
Oh, nothing, Mr. Hatcher. Throw me the soap, will you, Pete?
Yeah, sure, Mr. Pearson. Yeah.
Thanks. You know, there's something wrong, Pete. Just doesn't happen this way.
That's tough luck, Mr. Pearson.
Oh, no, it's not that. People don't just pop out of nowhere and break all records at the Open. Men don't take up golf and become perfect golfers in a month. He's got to have some weakness.
Well, if he has, he ain't shown it yet.
Well, I've got to find it.
Jim was out the next morning and he came in with a classy 32. On the back nine, he slipped a stroke to 33. He was still 4 down. He shook off a couple of reporters who were trying to egg him into a feud with this Saul, and the two of us just hung around in the crowd watching Silent Saul. His first drive went a clean 300 yards down the fairway, straight as a ruler.
Pete, there's something about his swing. There's something about it. I've seen it before.
Oh, you never saw that Silent Saul before, Mr. Pearson.
Still, there's something about his swing.
On a follow-up shot, Saul had about 240 to go. He took a club from his bag and took a few wiggling gestures, set his driver behind the ball, and swung.
Pete, did you see that swing? Those wiggles?
Yeah, well, a lot of guys do that.
Yeah, but it's unnecessary. I mean, you don't have to make those wiggles before you address the ball.
Yeah, sure, and you don't have to spit 3 times every time you got a tough putt, but you do.
But there's still something strange about him. Everything about him is perfection, except those wiggles. And he doesn't talk. Look at him putting. Just look at him.
Mm-hmm.
That could be Todd Winters, couldn't it?
Yeah, he does look something like Winters.
Yeah, when he putts. But that iron shot, who wiggles like that? Who does those wiggles? George Potter.
Yeah, I guess he does.
Yeah, and the approach shot, Pete. That's Gordon Brown. Nobody else bends the knee that way.
He really gave it a lot of study, huh?
And the drive. That grooved swing on the drive. Pete, come on. I've watched enough.
Ah, Pearson, a 63, I see. You're 6 strokes behind with 1 round to go. You want to give up now?
I don't think I will. I think we'd better talk about it privately.
Well, that won't be necessary.
Well, it doesn't matter to me, but I know that Saul is a robot.
So you think he's a robot?
Isn't he?
Of course he is. How does it feel to be beaten at your own game by a mindless machine?
Oh, you haven't won yet. The golf ball takes some funny bounces.
How did you find out about Saul?
Oh, Saul is a lot of things, but none of them is Saul. He's Todd Winters, George Potter, Gordon Brown, and his drive, that's me. You copied it after me. Take us away and there's nothing left. Tell me, how'd you do it?
Money can do anything. All it needs is a purpose. We've been working on colloidal brains up at our place. Our new miniature atomic power plant is ideal. You throw in some sensory mechanisms, some relays, feed in analysis of a slow-motion pictorial study.
And you have a golf machine. Must have cost hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Closer to $1 million.
$1 million? $1 million to keep me from winning $25,000? Don't you think that's unfair?
Unfair? You listen to me. Nothing is unfair that doesn't break the rules. And the only rule worth remembering is this, that the best man always wins.
You mean the best machine?
A machine is only an extension of a man, like your golf club. I don't happen to be endowed with golfing muscles and responses. You do. Those in your golf clubs let you hit a ball farther and straighter than anybody else. Saul lets me hit a ball farther and straighter than you do. It's as simple as that.
Oh, no, wait a minute. That wasn't the bet. The bet was that I couldn't make $50,000 in a year.
Maybe it was your bet. It wasn't mine. I bet that I could beat you at your own game. I don't think that you're good enough for Alice. You're not smart enough, not man enough. Should I let a few well-distributed, well-trained muscles blind her to what you really are?
And what's that?
You're a quitter. You can't stand pressure. You're no competitor. If you can't win at your own game, you can't win at anything else.
Suppose I win tomorrow.
6 strokes back? Playing against the perfect golfer?
Suppose.
Then I'd have to admit I was wrong. You have my word on that. And you could also have Alice, if she wants you.
Somewhere, Saul must have an Achilles heel. Pete, the prime fact about man is his adaptability.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
They've got to build in at least one constant, if not more. How about judgment?
I don't think so. I mean, they could tell whether he'd have wind or rain or sun or slow greens or something. They got to take care of that.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Hey, maybe you could jimmy him.
Hmm?
You know, drop sugar in his gas tank or something, smash him up.
Oh, no. that isn't fair.
Saul is fair.
Well, I mean, Mr. Hatcher, he's playing fair according to his lights. He could have had me crippled or poisoned or something, but he didn't. Well, I'll just have to beat him on our own ground on the golf course.
Oh, I don't know, Mr. Pearson. You'll have to shoot in the 50s.
Well, a golf ball takes some funny bounces.
Yeah, it sure does.
Wait a minute, there is a constant.
Hmm?
Listen, Pete, you know Saul's caddy?
Yeah, I know him. An illiterate type of guy, yeah.
Could he use $10 or maybe 20 or 50?
He's a caddy, isn't he?
All right. Pete, I want you to talk to him. You'll do better than I can.
The management of the tournament is no fool. They know which side their television rights are butted on, and they had Saul and Jim paired for the final round. Jim's drive took a tail-end hook. It dived into the rough behind a clump of trees. It wasn't a very happy start. Saul took a ball from his caddy, teed it up, and settled himself. Hey, that's some drive, Mr. Pearson.
Yeah, some drive. It's about 340 yards, isn't it? Some drive.
You got a tough lie there on your ball, Mr. Pearson. You gonna play it safe out on the fairway?
No. You see that hole between those two trees?
Mr. Pearson, that ain't sensible golf.
Pete, sensible golf won't win.
Well, he made it. The ball went through the opening and rolled to a stop just in front of the green. Saul's easy 4-iron shot was dead on the pin all the way. But it hit the back edge of the green and hopped into the rough. Jim took an easy putt for a birdie, and Saul's recovery was long, and 2 putts gave him a par.
Well, that's one of the strokes I need.
And that's the way it went. Jim's game sparkled, and Saul's game kept finding trouble. For the first 9, Jim came in with a scorching 30, while Saul came in with a 33. Kept on like that. Saul kept overshooting the green. They came into the 18th hole with Saul still 2 strokes up. Now, look, don't you worry, Mr. Pearson. You're going to tie him for sure.
Oh, that's no good, Pete. By tomorrow, his game will be on again perfectly.
Jim's drive sliced behind a fringe of trees. He had to shoot blind. He made it on the green, about 25 feet from the cup.
Okay, Pete. This is it. Saul's in for a 5.
Don't you worry, Mr. Pearson. Don't you worry.
Okay, I won't.
He lined it up. He studied the green. He noted the slope and the lay of the grass. And then he stroked the ball. We did it, Mr. Pearson. We did it. You're the new U.S. Open champion. Well, we finally busted loose from the television and the movies and all those hangers-on, and we ducked around the back to the pro shop, where we run into Mr. Hatcher.
How did you do it? How did you do it?
Well, Mr. Hatcher, under extremely restricted sets of circumstances, a machine is better than a man, but over the long run, over the gamut of situations, the machine doesn't have a chance. Just can't compete.
I still don't understand. It cost $1 million. $1 million.
Here, have a souvenir.
You could take this golf ball.
No. Look at it. That's the ball Saul was using.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's another brand. That isn't Saul's regular ball.
That's right. It's a new one. Guaranteed to add 20 yards to the average drive.
But that's unfair.
Well, your robot was built in with one constant. It had to be. A golf ball. Well, it just couldn't adapt to a better ball.
But that's not fair. Why, that's... Well. How about...
There are no perfect golfers, Mr. Hatcher. There are only good ones and better ones. But, well, I've been thinking about this robot of yours, and I'll be around in a few days to talk to you at your office.
Huh? About what?
Well, I'm sure you don't want to support your son-in-law for the rest of his life. And I have $50,000 to invest in business making robots. Useful robots. And leave golf to the men. They're better competitors. Now, if you'll excuse me, Mr. Hatcher, I've got a telephone call to make to your daughter.
You have just heard X-1, presented by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, which this month features The Other Celia, a story which proves that something drastic should happen to all snoopers, but nothing as shocking and frightful as this. Galaxy Magazine, on your newsstand today. Tonight, by transcription, X-1 has brought you Open Warfare, a story from the pages of Galaxy written by James E. Gunn and adapted for radio by Ernest Kenoy. Featured in our cast were Jack Grimes as Pete, Larry Haynes as Jim, and Wendell Holmes as Mr. Hatcher. This is Fred Collins. X-1 was directed by Daniel Sutter and is an NBC Radio Network production. countdown for blastoff. X minus 5, 4, 3, 2, X minus 1, fire. From the far horizons of the unknown come transcribed tales of new dimensions in time and space. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in a million, could be years, on 1,000 maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, presents
X minus 1.
Tonight, The Girls from Earth by Frank M. Robinson.
Mike McDonald is the name. Firm of Beagle and McDonald, Interplanetary Promotions, number 1 Park Avenue, New York. Drop in sometime. Brand new offices. Had them decorated by one of the biggest guys in the business. You know, it's hard to believe that only 6 months ago, me and Charlie Beagle, my associate, were stranded in a one-tank mining town on Mars. Let me tell you about it.
Here comes the waiter.
Play it cool.
Yeah, but we got no dough.
Play it cool, I said.
Gentlemen,
I'll have the sirloin.
one sirloin. Earth or Martian?
Well, what's the difference?
Well, the Earth sirloin's from genuine steers, $24 a pound. The Martian sirloin's from the domestic sloofer, $2.
Charlie, you ever tasted sloofer? We'll have the domestic.
Very good. A beverage?
Johnny coffee?
We ran out of coffee in 1997. Haven't been able to get any. Try the muggle juice.
Muggle juice?
It's a Martian vegetable. Has a pleasant narcotic effect.
You better make it whiskey. Whiskey?
That we got.
Fine. My friend will have the same.
Yes, sir.
Mike, would you mind telling me how we're going to pay for this slooper steak?
Relax. I'm thinking.
And even more important, how are we going to get out of this berg?
Charlie, what we need is a mark.
A mark?
A sucker. And if I'm not mistaken, this little guy with the glasses coming in now is just what we're looking for. Pardon me, sir. My friend and I are just in from Earth, and we don't know much about the customs here. I wonder if you'd be good enough to let us buy you dinner and tell us something about the town.
Why, that's very kind of you. You needn't buy me dinner, though. After all, you're the guests here.
Well, that's very nice of you. Do join us.
Thank you. My name is Henry Mortensen. I'm geologist for the Interplanetary Mining Company.
Mike McDonald and my friend Charlie Beagle.
How do you do?
Oh, pleasure.
You say you're just in from Earth?
Yes, that's right. Charlie and I are interested in uranium. Just sort of snooping around to see if there's a decent investment up here.
Oh, I see.
You'll forgive me. It's not much of a town, really.
No, I don't suppose it is. After all, you take 20,000 men and plunk them down in the desert like this, and you can't expect much.
20,000 men.
No tomatoes?
Sir?
Tomatoes. Girls.
Girls. Oh, I'd almost forgotten what the word meant. No, you see, the Colonization Board hasn't been very successful in persuading Earth women to migrate here. There are a few female Saturnians, the four-armed variety, but aside from that...
Well, what do the boys do for relaxation?
Well, being a geologist, I'm naturally interested in rock formations.
For relaxation?
A great many of the men indulge in gambling, and of course there are limp races every glib day.
Glib day?
We have a 9-day week here on Mars.
Oh.
Tell me, Mr. Mortensen.
Henry.
Tell me, Henry, don't the boys get lonesome for the sight of a woman?
Well, it is a problem. The men sign up for 9-year hitches. Most of them have forgotten what a woman looks like.
Mm-hmm. Do most of these men plan to stay here?
I suppose if they had families, they might. The pay is good, and I suspect most of them had their reasons for leaving Earth.
I see. Well, how about yourself? Suppose you found the right woman, which in this case would be just about any woman.
Oh, I'm very particular.
Oh, I mean any woman who met your rigid specifications. Would you stay?
You mean get married?
Yeah, that's the bit.
Well, of course, it's out of the question. No woman has ever showed the slightest interest in me.
Well, suppose one agreed to marry you in advance, and she met all your specifications.
Well, I've always wanted a family. Yes, I suppose I'd marry.
That's very admirable. Very, very admirable.
Here's the waiter with our dinner.
Slooper steak, gentlemen. Good luck with it.
Henry picked up the tab, and we got a rough idea how much cash these guys on Mars pack around with them. Enough to choke a galactic telescope is about all. We thanked the little guy and sat around until he left. Then I went to work.
Okay, what do we do now?
Charlie, we get to work.
What work? Oh, card game, maybe?
Listen, these guys been playing cards for 15 years now. We wouldn't have a prayer. I got an idea.
So give.
You still got that Earth magazine, the one with the Hollywood starlet on the cover?
Yeah, in my suitcase.
Good, I want it.
What for?
To make our poster advertisement, that's what's for.
Poster?
Look, Charlie, just picture this. A big poster with that starlet on it, twice as big as life. And underneath, this slogan, I'm coming from Earth to you.
Huh?
Then down in the corner, just this little notice. Applications will be accepted at Beagle and McDonald Agency.
Oh, it's great. But what is it?
What is it? Just the most colossal promotion scheme ever devised by man, that's all.
But what are you promoting?
The easiest thing in the world to promote. And the hardest. Marriage.
Marriage?
Look at it this way, Charlie boy. Here on Mars, we have 20,000 strong Earthmen with but a single thought.
Dames.
Exactly. And on Earth, we have 20 million single dames with but a thought.
Husbands.
So?
Oh, how you going to do it?
All right, now we get this poster made. We put it up. We take applications. $100 a head plus the cost of transportation. We get the $100.
Then we leave.
But first we deliver the girl.
Oh, it's a natural.
A natural. Charlie, it's colossal. What's 20,000 times 100?
$2 million.
Wow, that's our profit.
Wait a minute.
What?
How are we going to line up 20,000 girls and convince them to come up to this desert?
I'm working on that. Come on, we got to find a printer to make our poster.
What do we use for dough?
You huck your watch. Come on, let's go. We got the poster made, and it is a beaut. The artist threw in some extra fullness in the lips and stuck a glass of champagne in one hand. The next step was to rent a little field tent right outside the mining camp. We stuck the poster in front of it and waited for the guys to get through work.
Hey, Tom. Hey, dig this. What do you say we sign up?
What for?
Well, whatever they're selling inside.
I don't know.
Well, come on. What do we got to lose?
You gentlemen interested in matrimony?
Marriage?
That's what we're selling, boys.
To her?
Or anybody your heart desires. Just step inside, fill out the specification chart, pay your fee, and we deliver.
On a level?
On the level.
Well, what do you say, Tom?
It's worth a gamble.
Right this way, gentlemen. Mr. Beagle will take care of you.
No sooner said than done, gentlemen. Step right this way and live.
At the end of the first day, we had deposits amounting to about $15,000. By the third day, we had to beat them off with clubs. Everybody had a dream girl, and we were guaranteeing delivery.
40,000, 50,000, 60,000 bucks. Oh, Mike, what do you say we skip out on the first base free?
What are you, nuts? There's another million coming here, and my name isn't Mike McDonald.
Oh, yeah, incidentally.
Yeah.
Have you figured out a way to deliver on this swindle?
Naturally.
You have?
Of course. We just go down to Earth and put up a different poster. Guaranteed husbands, every one of them an Adonis.
What happens when they arrive? We get lynched?
Look, while these ladies are en route to Mars, you and me are en route to Earth. Get it?
Yeah.
I radio phoned a friend of mine down on Earth and had him place an ad in the New York papers the next day, complete with a picture of a handsome Martian uranium miner and a caption that read, "Husbands are waiting on Mars." When the next space liner rolled in, it brought the list of lady applicants from Earth, complete with photographs and background. Here's the first batch, Charlie. Let's look them over.
Yeah, right.
Let's see now.
Ooh.
Maybe the next one will be a little better.
How is it?
Let's see the next one.
Lola Carroll, age 29. 29? Whew, she's 40 if she's a day. Occupation, homebody. Background in education, blank. Oh, note from Mitchell. Says she did 4 years at a reformatory for shoplifting, and she's currently on parole.
Let's see this one. Wanda Baker, age 35, occupation gymnastic instructor, State College. Note says she was picked up for loitering and fined on 17 different occasions. Oh, brother.
These ain't exactly the creme de la creme, these ladies.
What'd you expect?
It ain't what I expect, Mike. It's what the boys in the mining camp expect. $100 fee plus $2,500 for transportation. That ain't hay.
Wait a minute. I got an idea.
I'm waiting.
First, we get rid of all these pictures, see? Then we print up a few thousand pictures of movie starlets, and we paste them on the applications. We make a few changes in the statistics, such as age and so on, and we're back in business.
You know, Mike, I used to think you were about as crooked as a one-armed bandit, but I don't think it anymore. I know it.
So we spent the next few nights pasting up pictures and changing age 38 to age 28 and so on. It was easy. Then we called in the applicants from the mining camp and gave each one the dope sheet on his prospective bride.
Hey, Bill. Hey, look at mine. Lola Carroll, age 29. Boy.
Mine's named Wanda Baker. She's 25. Well, you dig this picture? She's almost... What's wrong? Mine looks exactly like yours.
What? Let me see.
Take a look at those two pictures.
You're right.
Wait a minute. Hey, Mr. Mortensen.
Yes?
Take a look at this. Both alike.
Most peculiar. Particularly peculiar since, well, mine looks like yours, too.
You put in for a wife?
Why not? Miranda Potts, age 25. A former lady wrestling coach. But the pictures puzzle me.
I think maybe these guys are trying to pull a fast one.
You may be right at that. Come, gentlemen, let's pay a visit to our benefactors, Mr. McDonald and Mr. Beagle.
At the precise moment that Henry Mortensen and his two aggressive companions decided to drop in on myself and Charlie Beagle, we were in the process of tying our money into small bundles and placing it in suitcases, which also contained our clothes and tickets for the next rocket to Earth. It was very embarrassing. Oh, yes, gentlemen?
We would like a word with you, Mr. McDonald.
Well, Mr. Beagle and I are a little busy.
I'm afraid it'll have to wait.
Well, what seems to be the problem?
Just the three of us have the picture of the same girl clipped to our applications.
Really? Well, let's have a look.
Right here.
Well, what do you know? Charlie, take a look. Huh? You imbecile, you didn't check for duplicates. Well, now I think maybe I have an explanation, boys.
Go on.
None of you has been on Earth for some years now, is that right?
That's true.
Well, you know how styles take hold on Earth. One year every woman's curly and blonde. Next year it's straight and brunette. Well, the same thing has happened with cosmetics, makeup, and so on. Now, gentlemen, when I was on Earth last month, every woman in New York was trying to look like a certain movie actress. It got so men couldn't tell their own lives apart.
That isn't very convincing, Mr. McDonald.
Look, boys, obviously there was some mix-up at the Earth Agency. They got the wrong pictures pasted up or something, but I'm sure it'll all straighten itself out. Now, if you don't mind, Mr. Beagle and I have to finish packing.
We mind.
You do?
You do.
Uh-huh. Tom, you take that money in those suitcases and lock them up over the company office.
Now, boys, just a minute.
That's stealing, boys. It's considered dishonest.
We ain't stealing. We're just keeping the stuff in escrow, you might say.
Till when?
Till the rocket ships get here with the girls. If these dames are as gorgeous as you tell us they are, you'll get every penny of your dough.
Suppose they ain't quite gorgeous.
And you and your friend here are going to suddenly find yourselves unable to carry on as living humans. You fetch my meaning?
I fetch. Well, this caused a small dilemma in me and my partner, Beagle. The problem was easy to state. We had sold these guys on the idea that they were engaged to be wedded to an assortment of lovely, desirable, attractive young girls from Earth. The contingent from Earth, on the other hand, was made up mainly of frustrated, lonely women and a goodly portion of female criminal types. The problem was how to convince these boys that they were not getting cheated. That's enough, Charlie. Now, the problem is how to convince everybody that he ain't getting cheated, right?
Oh, you're a master of summing up a problem. Now how about solving it?
Just give me some time.
Look, the rocket fleet from Earth arrives here tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. 20,000 very strong miners will be assembled at the rocket port waiting.
True.
So?
Pour me a little more of that muggle juice.
No.
Muggle juice. We could get them all drunk on muggle juice, mass hypnotize them. I'm dreaming.
So what do we do?
I could make a speech, appeal to their better selves, say these poor, unfortunate women need love and affection, something they've never had.
Uh-huh.
How about makeup? Maybe we could hire a cosmetic man to make them up to look like the pictures.
Sure.
Or we could say that it's all a big mistake. We got the wrong shipment.
Or we could kill ourselves.
No need for that, Charlie. That's going to be done for us.
Yeah, that's what I figure.
Well, it's been a short life and a merry one. Drink up, Charlie. For tomorrow we die. The next morning, the miners came in from all parts of the desert to assemble at the spaceport. It was quite a sight. They'd all shaved and spruced up for the occasion, and some of them looked downright handsome. And every one of them had a package wrapped with ribbon for his prospective bride.
Tom! Hey, Tom, over here!
Hi.
Some excitement, huh?
I'm sweating like a schoolboy on his first date.
Why, see, you got a present, too.
Yeah, they were selling some of that cologne water. Hanley's number 4.
Well, I got the same thing.
Boy, this whole planet is going to smell like Hanley's number 4.
Is my tie on straight? It's been 8 years since I tied a tie.
That's pretty good. Boy, everybody is nervous as a cat.
You know, I took a look at myself in the mirror this morning. It was quite an experience. I just stood there looking. And then I said to myself, Bill, you're a slob. You couldn't get a girl on Earth. And if you're lucky, maybe the one who's coming today won't go back on the first ship.
I was thinking the same thing. You suppose they'll be as glamorous as those two crooks told us?
You know what? I hope not. I just wouldn't feel right bringing a real cultured, glamorous creature to that tar paper shack over near mine number 6.
I was thinking the same thing.
There's Mortensen. Boy, he looks like he's going to the radiation chamber.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Hi.
Well, it shouldn't be long now.
We ought to sight the first ship any minute.
The fellow down at number 3 mine was trying to get out of it. He was so sure his girl would be disappointed.
Well, maybe they won't expect so much. Oh, here it comes! Here it comes!
Attention, all men waiting to receive wives. The Earth-Mars convoy, Operation Big Date, is approaching the landing area. Please stand behind the fire screen until the ships are all landed. And good luck.
During all this, Charlie Beagle and I were more or less under guard back at our office. I say more or less because there were 6 miners with loaded guns sitting practically on top of us. In the distance, we could hear the rockets come blasting in for a landing. And then everything got very quiet. And we knew the girls were coming off the ships.
What do you suppose is happening?
Well, it's pretty quiet, Charlie. I guess the girls are coming off.
Yeah, I don't hear no sounds of rejoicing.
Now, just take it easy.
You suppose they'll hang us or shoot us?
Now, relax.
Relax, he says, but... Oh, here comes a Jeep with Uncle Henry in it.
Is he alone?
Uh-huh.
Well, so long, Charlie.
Gentlemen?
Now, look, Mr. Mortensen, this can all be explained. There was an error and the wrong girls got shot.
Don't try to explain it, McDonald.
But you can't just kill us without even a trial. I mean, it isn't just you.
Who said anything about killing you? We're throwing a banquet tonight, and we want you and Mr. Beagle as guests of honor.
As what?
Guests of honor.
You mean the girls were okay?
Okay, they're lovely. The nicest thing about them, of course, is that they don't expect much. They seem to accept us with all our faults and all the shabbiness and ugliness of the life on Mars. There isn't a one of them who turned up her nose at the place. They seem thankful just to be here.
And the guys, they all feel okay about it?
Okay, they're like a bunch of kids. There isn't a one of them who wasn't scared breathless that he'd have some sophisticated glamour girl on his hands. No, sir. These are down-to-earth women who had it tough on Earth, and they figure to find some happiness here if it's humanly possible.
Yeah, but how did the boys like the way they shape up?
Charlie.
I mean, there might be some that seemed a little older than the applications. You know how clerical errors can be made.
Well, gentlemen, when you've been living on Mars for 15 years without having seen even a single Earth woman, you kind of lose the standards that Hollywood sets for us. As far as I and the other men are concerned, they're gorgeous.
Well, that's the story, which proves you can sell a guy a gold brick that's made out of lead, and sometimes you find out the poor sucker likes lead even better than gold. Charlie Beagle and myself made a small fortune on the deal, like I said before. I made a trip back to Mars last month just to satisfy my curiosity, and you know what? I never saw a happier bunch of people in all my life. Hey, by the way, Henry Mortensen and the lady wrestler are having a kid. They're going to call it Mike if it's a boy, and Michelle if it's a girl.
You have just heard X-1, presented by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, which this month features The Ignoble Savages by Evelyn E. Smith, the story of the Snadra, which had but one choice in its fight to afford to live below ground, to pretend that theirs was an above-board society. Galaxy Magazine, on your newsstand today. Tonight, X-1 has brought you The Girls from Earth, a story from the pages of Galaxy written by Frank M. Robinson and adapted for radio by George Lefferts. Featured in the cast were Mandel Kramer as Mike, Bob Hastings as Charlie, John Gibson as Henry, Jim Stevens as Tom, Dick Hamilton as Bill, and Phil Sterling as the waiter. This is Fred Collins. X-1 was directed by Daniel Sutter and is an NBC Radio Network production.
In just a moment, X-1. But first...
You are listening to the distinctive style of Claude Thornhill, one of today's top musicians and band leaders. It's popular music with all the beauty of a classical symphony. And there are more fine arrangements by Claude Thornhill all this week when he makes his appearance on NBC Bandstand. In addition, you're treated to the inimitable beat and rhythm of master jazzman Lionel Hampton. Join MCs Bert Parks and Dick Hames all this week on NBC Bandstand.
And now stay tuned for X-1 on NBC.
Countdown for blastoff. X-5, 4, 3, 2, X-1, fire. From the far horizons of the unknown come transcribed tales of new dimensions in time and space. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in a million could-be years on 1,000 maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, presents
X-1.
Tonight's story, The Snowball Effect, by Catherine Moklin.
I took over the university at a time of crisis. For one thing, we had been placed on probation by the conference for overpaying football players by 100%, and one half of the varsity was penalized a year's eligibility. On top of that, I was called in by Mr. Harvey J. Grover of the Board of Trustees. We had lunch at 21 on his expense account, and after the Napoleon brandy, he lowered the boom.
Dr. Holloway, the university is in crisis.
I know, Mr. Grover, I know, but I'm assured that our scouts have turned up several likely zinc miners in Colorado. You can assure the board that we'll have a line to reckon with next season.
I'm not talking about football. There are other things at the university, I'm told.
Well, of course.
Holloway, as president of the university, you've taken on a grave responsibility.
I know.
I don't mind telling you the board has been gravely concerned. The number one problem facing us is academic freedom.
It is?
You're darn tooting. We want every academic department free from debt, running in the black. Is that clear?
Academic freedom, huh? I see.
Any faculty that can't support itself by grants, bequests, corporation, or government contracts is out.
All of them?
Down to the last assistant instructor. Look, Holloway, I'll put this to you straight. Most of the board was against hiring you. They had a bright young plant manager from General Products they said could show a profit from a candy store in the Mojave Desert. But I stood up for you.
Why, thank you, sir.
I told them the president of the university has got to be at least a high school graduate or it doesn't look good. You know, you did graduate from high school, didn't you?
Oh, yes. And college, too. I got my master's at Harvard and my doctorate at...
Never mind. Let's not go too far. Have you got this straight now?
Oh, yes. I've got to make a profit on the candy store. I mean, the university.
That's right. Oh, and Holloway.
Yes?
How many zinc miners did you say we dug up?
I started in with anthropology, astronomy, astrophysics, agriculture. Almost all the departments could show a nice, healthy contract from the Department of Defense for research, or from some corporation. Even the classical wing came out okay. They were being subsidized by a pride of Texas millionaires who thought it was cute to have original Greek and Latin tombstones set in concrete on their patios. One fellow from Galveston gave a classical barbecue featuring a swimming pool with pornographic marbles from Pompeii set around the scum gutter. I ran into my first problem when I got to sociology. Now, look, Dr. Caswell, I'll be frank with you. I'm paid to make sure this institution doesn't come out on the short end of the stick.
Well, that's a quaint expression.
I got it from Mr. Grover of the Board of Trustees, so you can see this is no time for kidding ourselves. Can sociology pull its own weight? What is it?
Sociology is the study of social institutions.
Now, look, Caswell, to the Board of Trustees, sociology sounds like socialism, and nothing can sound worse than that. Come on now. What are you doing that's worth anything?
My dear sir.
And don't wrinkle your nostrils at me, Caswell. If you've allergies, take an antihistamine. If not, just answer my question.
This department's analysis of institutional accretion by the use of open system mathematics has been recognized as an outstanding and valuable contribution to...
Valuable in what way?
Well, since the Depression, Washington has been using sociological studies of employment, labor, and standards of living as a basis for its general policies.
Please, Professor, stick to brass tacks and leave Washington out of this. What specifically has the work of this specific department done that would make it as worthy to receive money as, say, a heart research fund?
Fundamental research doesn't show immediate effects, Dr. Holloway, but the value is recognized.
Caswell, all the other departments have managed to squeak by. You're the last one. Unless you can toe the mark, there'll be 14 sociologists testing the institutional efficiency of unemployment insurance as an instrument of economic policy. Caswell knew I had him. Unless he could show me how his department could scratch a buck together, I'd have to expunge his name from the catalog and have him drummed out of the faculty club. I'll hand it to him, though. He glared from behind his pince-nez, and sliding into his lecture manner, he started his column.
Institutions, organizations, that is, have certain tendencies built into the way they happen to have been organized, which cause them to expand or contract without reference to the needs they were founded to serve. I have developed a form of socio-mathematics to plot these factors, and by comparing formulae...
Is it all perfectly clear to you? Well, it wasn't to me either. I grasped the idea that he could tell whether an organization would get bigger or smaller and why. And so I asked him for proof.
Well, I could give you a demonstration.
How quickly?
6 months.
All right, let's see. We've got a basketball team averaging 7 feet. That ought to keep the board busy till spring. And after that, that bonus pitcher we stole from the Milwaukee Braves. All right, Caswell, you've got 6 months. I forgot about Caswell and the sociology department for a couple of days while I went back to convincing semi-literate millionaires that they might as well leave a couple of millions to the university rather than have the federal snap it up in inheritance taxes. I was on to a real beaut, a button manufacturer with a bad heart who could go any minute, who wanted to endow a scholarship for needy and intellectually gifted lacrosse players. When Caswell came back to see me, we had lunch at the student cafeteria on my expense account, and he explained.
Ever hear of feedback effects?
Is it something to do with reducing overweight co-eds?
No, it's a mathematical term. You might call it the snowball effect.
You mean like rolling a snowball downhill?
That's right. It grows. Now, here's the mathematical symbol.
That spiral?
That's the formula for the general growth process. Do you understand the equation?
Why, no.
It accounts for all sorts of institutional growth. The Roman Empire, Alexander, the Masons, the spread of tobacco, anything. You see, when the snowball becomes too heavy for the cohesion strength of snow, it breaks apart. Now, we've decided to run the test on an organization and make it grow according to the formula.
I see. You're going to use some club or lodge or something as a guinea pig.
If you could follow the equation, you'd see I've built a pattern of a cogent reason for the ins to drag in new members from the outs, and an urgent factor to prevent anyone from resigning. That's this Greek symbol here. Kappa for compulsion.
I suggested a few changes in the organization plan, and we finally worked out a setup that was nice and simple. We put our heads closer together and tried to pick the best place for a demonstration.
It should be small enough to observe, and yet large enough to be statistically significant.
How about Passaic, New Jersey? My sister lives there.
Oh, let's make it Watershaw. I have some student sociological surveys of it already. We can pick a suitable group from that.
We've got to make this an ironclad demonstration. We'll have to pick some little 2-foot nothing club that nobody would ever expect to grow. Some miserable, pathetic little organization. We found the perfect test guinea pig, the Watershaw Wednesday night sewing circle. Caswell and I drove over next Thursday night to a meeting. They always met Thursday night, except every once in a while when the chairlady forgot to have her hair set, in which case they met Friday.
Girls, we have business to conduct, girls. Helen, please.
Oh, well,
the regular meeting is now called to order.
Bernice.
Just a minute, dear. Will the secretary...
Bernice.
You're out of order, dear.
It's not a regular meeting.
But of course it is. It's Thursday, isn't it?
I distinctly remember when we had that special meeting on Tuesday for Toby's baby shower. We adjourned sign or die when she started to have pain.
Oh, my goodness, it was false labor. That certainly doesn't count.
But this meeting is just a continuation of the other one.
Oh. Now, how do you feel, Toby?
Fine. A little out of breath.
Did you try a little dry toast just before climbing the stairs?
But, Bernice...
My doctor said to breathe deeply through my nose and to have Henry tie my shoes for me.
Well, I'd like to see Alfred tie anything for me. It's 3 years since I dared get a dress that zipped up the back.
Madam Chairman, I rise to a point of order.
Well, my goodness, Helen, you don't have to be a martyr about it.
That's the way the meeting of the Watershaw Sewing Circle went on. After a prolonged parliamentary battle, the point was finally carried that this was the tail end of a previously adjourned special meeting. At this point, the secretary, who had shorthand training, read the minutes.
It was moved by Harriet that a vote of confidence be registered in the administration of the club's business by Bernice. The motion was seconded by Elsie, who said she thought it was only fair because Bernice didn't even have an unlimited phone. And look at all the calls she had to make on club business. The motion was amended by Joan to include Bernice Calloway as well as Bernice Hackett. Because with 2 Bernices, the whole thing would be confusing, and it didn't seem fair to discriminate between Bernices, because Bernice Calloway didn't have an unlimited phone either. And besides, her phone was way upstairs in the bedroom without even a kitchen extension. The motion was defeated because of the lack of a quorum.
Finally, the new business of the meeting was reached, and Bernice, what's her name, introduced Professor Caswell and myself as observing professors doing a survey of charitable institutions. After the business meeting, brownies, sponge cake, and apricot peekaboo cookies were served with coffee. Caswell and I drew the unlimited Bernice aside.
You see, Mrs. Hackett, I've been making a few notes on a slightly modified constitution and bylaws for your organization.
You have?
You see, it all depends on having a competent and capable lady in charge.
Oh, yes. Yes, I see.
Frankly, this plan would be dangerous unless there was a woman of great character elected to the post of chair lady.
Well, of course.
You see, there are several ways of, influencing an election. That's why it's important that only the right people fully understand this.
Oh, you're right. Absolutely. Why, the organization was just floundering before the last election. Now, can I see those plans, Professor? They sound like they're just what we need.
Naturally, she was hooked. As Caswell buttered her up, her eyes began to gleam, and she studied the simple little bylaws and constitution the professor had drawn up, nodding happily as the classic duty of the scheme struck home. The meeting broke up when, after 4 brownies and a wedge of butterscotch cashew angel food surprise, Toby started to have real labor pains. We found out later it was a 9.5-pound boy. Caswell and I left the meeting and stopped for a pizza and beer to get the taste of the apricot peekaboo cookies out of our mouths.
Well, there you are, Dr. Holloway. They adopted our bylaws with only one dissenting vote.
I don't like that secretary. She's a spoiler, always suspicious. My first wife was like that.
Don't worry, she hasn't got a chance. That Bernice woman has clear sailing under my equations. It's rigged to favor an aggressive extrovert over the paranoidal personality.
You're sure it'll work now?
I'd stake my academic reputation on it.
You have?
Don't worry, Dr. Holloway. We've given that sewing circle more growth drives than the Roman Empire.
We let the whole thing gel for a while. About 4 months later, I shook loose from my schedule and dropped over to see Caswell. He looked up from a student paper on the correlation of Bermuda shorts seen at Madison Avenue and 46th Street to the swing towards Democratic candidates in the Corn Belt.
Good morning, Dr. Holloway. Good morning.
Caswell, I just wanted you to know we hadn't forgotten you. And now, about that sewing club business, I'm beginning to feel the suspense. Could I get an advance report on how it's coming?
Well, I haven't been following it that closely. We're supposed to let it run the full 6 months and then check.
But I'm curious. Could I get in touch with that woman? What's her name? Bernice something?
Hackett. Bernice Hackett.
Would it change the results if we checked it now?
Not in the slightest. If you want to graph the membership rise, it should be going up in a long curve, probably doubling ever so often.
Well, if it's not rising, you're fired, you know.
If it's not rising, you won't have to fire me. I'll burn my books and shoot myself.
I went back to my office and put in a call to Watershaw. Mrs. Hackett wasn't in. The maid informed me she was at the meeting. That sounded better. If the sewing circle was meeting on a Saturday, then maybe Caswell had a chance. But she wasn't going to a sewing circle meeting. There was another organization, the Civic Welfare League. I hung up the phone and thought about poor Caswell. If the sewing circle had really gone up the flue, he was on his way up with it. I decided to go over to Watershaw and check to give the poor old goat the benefit of the doubt. The meeting of the Welfare League was in the Knights of Columbus building, a tremendous pile used for dozens of club meetings at a time. There was some kind of political rally going on in the main hall. Streets were jammed. I figured I was going to have a tough time finding the little back room where the Civic Welfare League was meeting. I figured they must be in a pretty bad way trying to hold a meeting in competition with a brawl like the one in the main room.
Right this way,
look,
sir.
Miss, I'm looking for a small meeting.
Well, here you are, membership application, song sheet, bylaws, and pledge.
No, you don't understand. I don't want
that's all right. You can keep it. It's a new membership kit. Everyone's supposed to have it. We've just printed up 6,000 copies to make sure there'll be enough for this meeting.
No, you don't understand, miss. I'm looking for the meeting of the Civic Welfare League.
Well, this is it.
No, I mean the one with Mrs. Hackett. Bernice Hackett.
Do you know her? Well, there she is up on the speaker's platform.
And now, after the ushers have passed among you with membership blanks, it is time to rededicate ourselves to the principles we stand for. With a bright and glowing future, the best people in the best planned town in the country, the jewel of the United States. All we need is more members. Now get out there and recruit! Recruit! Recruit!
I cornered Bernice Hackett at the speaker's table. She had a clear, sparkling look to her eye, and she was dressed in a trim gray suit with a towering feather on a small hat. A clutch of pretty junior ushers, all with goose dimples showing above strapless formals, clustered about her. I managed to get to see her in the back room while the mayor was addressing the meeting.
Well, hello there. It's a pleasure to see you.
What happened to the sewing circle?
Oh, it's just a little change, that's all. Helen, dear.
Yes, BH.
Send those wires out to the senator in Washington. You can tell him we want his support on the slum clearance or else.
Check.
Now, let's see, where were we? Oh, yes. We started growing by amalgamating with other small charity groups. Worked much more efficiently that way.
Bernice, we're running out of membership blanks.
Call the printer. He's got instructions to keep the type standing.
Check.
Naturally, we had to change our name each time, but we've still got the same constitution and bylaws, the ones you professors worked out for us.
Then you've been growing.
Oh, dear, yes.
Bernice, what do we do about the town board of aldermen?
I explained to them they can't get in at a group rate. Each one will have to join separately.
Check.
Oh, yes, Professor. We're growing and growing and growing.
I kept close watch on the sewing of the Civic Welfare League for the rest of the month. Evidently, they'd swallowed up the real estate organization because they came out with a plan to attract new industries to town, and there was a gimmick splitting up the profits among club members only. It was the same provision Caswell built in to split up profits from dues and fines, but now it was operating in the 100,000s. I graphed the rise in membership, and it went up like the first rise in a roller coaster. I went over to Caswell's office to tell him the good news.
Naturally, I knew the equations would work.
Well, don't be so calm about it. With a demonstration like this, I can get all kinds of grants and funds for the sociology department. You'll think it's snowing money.
Well, naturally, I expected this. I haven't been following the test at all, but I was quite confident.
I don't mind admitting I wasn't. Well, that organization sure blew up. Now, let's see the formula for stopping it.
Oh, I didn't complicate the organization with negatives. I wanted it to grow. It falls apart naturally when it stops growing for more than 2 months. You remember, we built into it the idea that the members know what happens if the membership stops growing. Why, if I tried to stop it now, they'd cut my throat.
Yeah, they sure were enthusiastic at that meeting.
No, we'll just let it play out to the end of its tether and die of old age.
And when will that be?
Well, it can't grow past the female population of the town. There are only so many women in Waukesha, and some of them don't like sewing.
Sewing? Caswell!
What's the matter? Are you sick?
You haven't been following the experiment?
Why, no, I told you. I haven't even thought about it since we started.
Well, they wanted to expand, and they weren't going to let sewing stand in their way. They went from general charity to social welfare schemes to something that's pretty close to an incorporated government. They're now filing an application to change their name to the Civic Property Pool and Social Dividend Membership Combine.
Well, very interesting. I hadn't thought of that. Fascinating.
Dr. Caswell, tell me, where does the formula say it will stop?
Oh, I shouldn't worry. It stops when you run out of people to join it. After all, there are only so many people in Waukesha. It's a pretty small town.
Yes, it is. Doctor, they've opened a branch office in New York. Caswell got out his slide rule then, and we went over the charts I had been keeping. He ran the results through the physics department's new analog computer to check the results.
Yes, it checks.
Well,
now, allowing a certain lag of contagion from one nation to another, language and cultural barriers, it'll reach total world population in 12 years. About 1 week after that, various isolated pockets, Australian Bushmen, Tibetans, African Pygmies, will all be members.
You mean only 12 years?
Give or take a week, 12 years.
The whole world?
Well, there is something to be said for a worldwide government. Many people are definitely in favor of it.
But under Bernice Hackett, the whole world?
Oh, you asked me for a demonstration. The equation works.
But what happens when the whole world is organized and there are no new members?
Well, 2 months after the organization stops growing, it collapses. It's built in the formula.
Yes, but what happens then?
Oh. Well, I haven't the faintest idea. I haven't carried the equations that far.
Look, Caswell, whatever happens, I don't want anyone to ever pin this on me. From now on, if anyone asks me, I never heard of Waukesha. Well, that was 12 years ago. I think Caswell and I are about the only men on Earth who don't hold membership cards in the United Terrestrial Civic Welfare and International Property Pool. Bernice Hackett, Global Administrator. It's a race against time now. There hasn't been a new member in a week and a half, and Bernice is anxiously awaiting news from the first Mars Expeditionary Fleet. And as she says, if only they find life there. We need new members, desperately.
You have just heard X-1, presented by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, which this month features The Stars, My Destination, the first installment of a 4-part serial by Alfred Bester, a brilliant novel on teleportation in the world of the future. Galaxy Magazine, on your newsstand today. Tonight, by transcription, X-1 has brought you The Snowball Effect, a story from the pages of Galaxy written by Catherine McLean and adapted for radio by Ernest Kinoy. Featured in the cast were Ted Osborne, Wendell Holmes, Warren Parker, Audrey Blum, Mary Patton, Patsy O'Shea, and Peggy Allenby. Your announcer, Fred Collins. X-1 was directed by Daniel Sutter and is an NBC Radio Network production.
Thousands of hearts are being saved today, and many persons with heart disease are learning how to live happier and more useful lives. The fact is, most heart patients can keep on working often at the same job. This progress is the result of intensive medical research, research which you support when you give to the Heart Fund. Send a contribution now to your local Heart Association or to Heart, care of your post office. When you help your Heart Fund, you help your heart. Only NBC Radio brings you the whole convention story. Listen tonight.
And now stay tuned for X-1 on NBC.
Countdown for blast off. X-5, 4, 3, 2, X-1, fire. From the far horizons of the unknown come transcribed tales of new dimensions in time and space. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in a million, could be years, on 1,000 maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, presents
X-1.
Tonight, Wherever You May Be, by James E. Gunn.
Hey, you. Little girl. You on the fence.
Yeah?
Hey, kid, come here.
Well, I'm right comfortable where I am.
Listen, kid. Is there a service station on this road?
Well, Merv Wheelock got a gas pump at the general store.
Oh? How far is it?
About 18 miles.
Oh, that's a big help. Well, I don't know what else to expect in the middle of the Ozarks.
You want me to help you, mister?
No, just keep out of the way, kid. Ow! Well, there's nothing funny about that. You just gonna sit there and watch me sweat, kid?
Oh, no. There'll be lots more to watch.
Well, I don't know what's so amusing about watching a man change a flat tire. Ow!
You sure you don't want me to help, mister?
No, I'm perfectly capable of changing a tire by myself.
Look out, mister. It's rolling away.
What?
Your tire. It's rolling away.
Hey! Come back here, you! Well, this is the most sadistic tire I ever... Now, stay put. Why don't you go home?
Can't.
Why not?
I run away.
Oh, well, that's tough. There. Now, listen, kid. You know a cabin about 15 miles up the road?
I reckon.
You know where the turnoff is?
There ain't no turnoff. You just drive till the road peters out and you take the footpath. You gonna live in that place?
Mm-hmm. Just for the summer.
Oh.
Well, so long, kid.
Oh, mister. Hey, mister.
Now what do you want?
Well, nothing. Only you forgot your jack.
Oh, that does it. Where are you going?
No place.
Thought you said you ran away.
I surely did.
Don't you have any relatives?
No.
Friends?
No.
All right, then, go on home. Oh, come on now. What are you crying for? All right. Get in. I'll give you a lift. Listen, look out for those notes. There's over a year's work in those.
Oh, a year's work in them pieces of paper?
Uh-huh. Those are notes for the thesis I'm going to write.
You write stories?
No, research paper. I have to do it to get my degree at the university.
Well, what's it called? I mean the story you'll write.
It's not a... It's called The Psychodynamics of Witchcraft, with special reference to the Salem trials of 1692.
Oh, witches?
Yeah. All right, where do you live, kid?
Well, I can't go home. Pa'd beat me again. Oh, he'd pretty nigh skinned me alive, I guess.
He hit you? Little kid like you?
Well, he don't use his fists. Not often. He uses his belt mostly. Look here. On my knee. See that black and blue mark? And this one?
Never mind. Why does he hit you?
He's just mean.
Well, he must have some reason.
Oh, he wants me to catch some strong young fellow who do the work around the place. A gal don't bring in no money, he says. Leastwise, not a good one.
You're much too young to get married.
I'm 16.
You don't look more than... Well, I don't know.
Most girls my age got a couple of young ones. One, anyways. The way Pa carries on, you'd think I didn't want to get married. Now, it ain't my fault no fellow wants me.
What seems to be the trouble?
Most mostly I guess I'm just unlucky. One fella I went with pretty nearly a year. He busted his leg. Another now well drowned when he fell in the lake. Now, it don't seem right they should blame me, even though we did have words.
Blame you?
Well, they say it's courting disaster instead of a gal. Fellas just stop coming round. You married, Mr.
Matthew Wright. No, I'm not married.
Wright. Abigail Wright. That's right, Purdy.
Abigail Wright?
Oh, did I say that? Now, ain't that funny? My name's Jenkins.
Mr. Jenkins? Oh, fine. I met your daughter on the road. I brought her back. Look, Mr. Jenkins, I got a pint bottle in my pocket. Care for a little drink?
Terrible week.
Well, I'm sorry. I repeat, I brought your daughter back.
Why?
Well, she had no place to go.
She ran away.
Now, look, Mr. Jenkins, I realize that teenage daughters can be a nuisance, and after meeting your daughter, I can understand how you feel. Still in all, she is your daughter.
Got my doubts.
Now, Mr. Jenkins, your daughter may have given you good reason to lose your temper, but beating a child is never sound psychology.
Beat her? You mean wallop her, whale her? Man, I never laid a hand to her. I dasn't.
But she said...
Come in here.
Oh, now, Mr. Jenkins, I assure you...
Come in the cabin. You look around this here room, mister. See them dishes all over the floor, those chairs all splintered like they was kindling, that table turned over bottom side topmost like a turtle on the road? You think I beat her?
Well, the place is a shambles.
I ain't saying Abby did it. But when she gets unhappy, things happen. Dishes come flying through the air. Funny things happen around Ab. Ever since she started filling out 5 or 6 years ago.
Well, she's only 16.
16? Don't let on I told you, but she's past 18. There, you see?
Oh, it just fell off the shelf.
Well, look, you're a city fella, passable looking. Why don't you take her with you?
What? Oh, now, wait a minute, Mr. Jenkins.
Well, she's right pretty when she fixes up, and she can cook right smart. Go on, take her.
Well, you must be mad. You can't give a girl away like that. If you'll excuse me, I think I'd better be going.
Nobody asked you to bring her back. Gal eats more than I do.
Oh, now, look, here. Here's $10. Buy yourself a jug.
Well, I'd like to, but I can't do it. It ain't worth it. You brought her back. You can take her away.
Oh, here's 15.
Well, I should know better. All right, mister.
I'll get her.
It ain't no use, though, I can tell you, mister.
All right, Abigail. Get out of the car. You're home.
But, Pa...
Oh, he isn't mad at you. He's welcoming you back. Now, come on, get out.
Dirty, nasty old man. Serving right a fat bottle he's pulling busted right over his head.
Goodbye, Abby. And remind me never to see you again. All alone. I'm so all alone. There is no...
Hello.
What are you doing here?
Waiting for you.
But listen, this is my cabin. I rented it.
I know. What kept you?
Well, what are you doing here? How did you get here?
Oh, I reckon you're hungry. Look, why don't you sit down? Supper's about ready.
Now, wait a minute. I came here by car. How did you get here?
Well, I rode. Oh, it's lucky I did. This place needed a good sweeping.
Is that your broom?
I know. It was here in the cabin. Pa loaned me a mule. I let her go. She'll get home all right.
But you can't stay here. It's impossible. What would people say?
Well, who'd care? Pa don't. Oh, please, Mr. Wright, let me cook and clean for you. I won't be no trouble. Honest, I wouldn't.
Oh, now, look, Abby, you're a nice girl, and I like you, but you'll just have to go back to your father. Do you understand?
All right.
What? What was that? What happened? What? Oh, look at that. The car. I must have left the brake off.
You reckon it's hurt bad?
Well, rolling down a 10-foot grade into a tree didn't help it any.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, Mr. Wright.
Are you? Well, anyway, it looks like you'll have to stay here tonight then, doesn't it?
I reckon.
I could have sworn I put that brake on. Listen, you're going back first thing in the morning.
Oh, sure. Sure, Mr. Wright. I understand.
Abby, tell me something. Who wrecked your father's house?
Libby.
Libby, huh?
Who's Libby?
The other me. Mostly I keep her bottled up inside. But when I feel sad and unhappy, I just can't keep her in. Then she just lets loose and goes wild.
Schizo. Abby, where did you get an idea like that?
But when I was born, I had a twin sister. Only she died real quick. And when I was bad, my ma used to say Libby would never have been mean or cross or naughty. So when I'd done something bad, I started saying Libby done it. I guess after a while, I've begun to believe it myself.
Can you control it, Abby?
Not much. You see, when I get feeling mad and mean, things just happen, that's all.
How about a rolling tire?
You sure did look funny. Oh, I was just feeling mean about Pa, I guess, and I took it out on you.
I don't believe it. It's absolutely impossible. It's primitive. It's straight out of Fraser's Golden Bough. There's got to be some explanation. Illusion or hypnosis. There's got to be some physical explanation.
Well, I don't see why. I mean, if a thing just happens, you don't have to explain it. It's just there, ain't it?
All right. Here. Now, make that cup move.
Why?
I want to see you do it.
But I don't want to. I never wanted to do it. It just happened.
Come on, try.
Now, no, Mr. Wright. Look, it never brung me nothing but misery. It's bad enough when you can't help it, but it's worse when you do it on purpose. Nothing good will come of it.
Come on, try. I want you to move that cup. Now, go ahead, Abby. Just move it without touching it.
I can't. I just can't.
Why not? Why can't you?
I don't know. I guess it's because I'm happy.
You can't move it now.
No.
All right, then get your things. You're going back to your father right now.
No, I ain't going. I can't.
Listen to you. You're a stupid backwoods girl. Can't. What kind of a way of talking is that? You're going back to your father because you're an ignorant, dirty hillbilly. Abby, you did it. You did it. It came right at my head.
Do I have to go back?
Oh, no, sir. Not if you help me. Abby, I've got a hold of something here that... What a thesis! Abby? What's, courting like here in the hills?
Oh, sometimes we walk and look at things together and talk a little. But if the night is warm, we just sit and hold hands and whatever.
Like this?
Mr. Wright, do you like me a little bit? Oh, not marrying like, but friendly like?
I like you very much, Abby. Very much.
Oh, Mr. Wright. You kiss real pretty.
Abby, what happened to your fellas? I mean, the other boys.
Well, folks said I'd the evil eye. I mean, Hank fell off the roof and broke his leg, and Gene, well, he fell in the lake and liked to drown. It wasn't my fault. It was after we'd had words, now was it?
No.
Why, Mr. Wright, you're shivering. Maybe we better go get your jacket.
Abby, tomorrow we're going to drive to Springfield to do some shopping.
Really, Mr. Wright? Why, I ain't never been to Springfield. Oh, ain't that wonderful? Mr. Wright.
Huh. Are you happy, Abby?
Oh, it's the happiest I've ever been in my life. I mean, eating in a fancy restaurant and even dancing and all. And now us just sitting here together in the moonlight. I never thought anything like this would happen to me.
Abby, I'm afraid maybe you don't understand.
Well, what do you mean, Mr. Wright?
Oh, you know that dress I bought you? That's for another girl.
What?
Yeah, it's for another girl. I'm going to marry her. She's about your size, and I thought we could pick it out that way.
Oh, no, Oh, Mr. Wright.
Abby, wait a minute. Where are you going? Wait, I want to talk to you.
No, I'm going to bed.
Matthew Wright, you are a no-good, miserable cad.
You want any more coffee?
You still feel bad, Abby?
You want me to move that cup for you today? I can do it real good.
How do you know?
Well, I just got a feeling. Look.
You can do it now?
Sure, I guess. There, it's getting easier.
Look, Abby, I want to get some things out of the car. I just happen to have them things for tests. There may be other powers.
Well, I don't care much one way or the other, Mr. Wright. If it makes you happy, it's all right with me.
Abby? Abby, where are you? Abby, where did you go? Abby?
Here I am, Mr. Wright.
Abby, where were you?
Springfield.
But that's 50 miles.
I know. I just kind of wished I was there, and then I was. I brought back a frying pan I admired in that hardware store window. Ain't it pretty? Got a real copper bottom.
Didn't you have any trouble getting out of the store without anyone seeing you?
Well, I was outside, but I could see in the back room somehow, too. I knew his name was Albert, and he was doing a crossword puzzle.
Now, how could you tell all that?
Well, I just kind of looked inside of his thinking. Like this.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute, Abby, don't.
I could look right inside your thinking now, Mr. Wright.
Abby, Abby, wait a minute. Abby.
You wouldn't. You didn't.
Now, wait a minute, Abby. You've got to understand.
I understand everything you've been thinking, you devil. Well, there ain't nothing too bad for anyone to do that.
Well, you've got to let me explain.
You with your kindness and your city manners. How could you do it? You made me fall in love with you. It was just a trick. You just wanted to make me unhappy, that's all. Why, even Pa was never that mean. I'd as soon marry up with a rattlesnake.
Well, Abby, what are you going to do?
Well, I haven't made up my mind yet, but I'll think of something.
Well, I've got to think of some way out of it. She's in that other room thinking what to do to me. I've got to think of some way. No, it's no use. As soon as I think of it, she knows. Oh, got to keep my mind busy. Mary had a little lamb. Its fleece was white as maybe if I could get her father. No. If there are 2 outs and bases loaded, or men on first and second, and a ball is hit, which, in the opinion of the umpire, can be handled by an infielder, the infield fly rule shall be invoked, and the batter is called out. The base runners may advance at their own peril. Their peril. I've got to think. No, I mustn't think. Oh, no, she's absolutely certain now she can do anything she wants to. I've got to act on the spur of the moment, keep my mind crowded with something else. Oh, it's a lovely day. Breathed there a man with soul so dead. 'Twas brillig and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wave. Froggy went a-courting, and he did ride, sword and pistol by his side, ring Tom Body Michicambo. Full fathom 5 my father lies, of his bones are coral made. Seabirds hourly toll his knell. Hark, I hear them, ding-dong-dell.
That's pretty.
Abby.
Where are we going?
Oh, Abby. What are you doing here?
I couldn't let you leave without me. I've got plans for you.
Oh?
Very interesting plans.
But how could you tell I left? I was thinking all sorts of other things.
Matt, you were thinking some of the cutest little rhymes. Oh, but that was on top.
On top?
Why, sure. Way underneath, I could hear plain what you were thinking about running away in this old car.
Well, then why didn't you stop me? Conk out the motor or something.
Oh, I didn't want to. I told you I could see way down underneath the top of your thinking. And you know what I found there? All the time, even when you were making me unhappy to test all them strange things I learned how to do, way down deep, you're in love with me.
I am.
Surely true. So, we're going to get married.
Are we?
There isn't much you can do about it now, is there?
No, I suppose not. But, it's a frightening thought getting married to you, Abby. A wife who can read your mind and all the rest.
Oh, I wouldn't worry about it, darling. Why, I can only do those things when I'm downright miserable. Everything will be perfectly all right. Just as long as you keep me happy.
You have just heard X-1, presented by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, which this month features Early Model by Robert Sheckley, the story of a man who found that invulnerability was a fine asset when opening a new planet, provided you don't overdo it. Galaxy Magazine, on your newsstand today. Tonight, by transcription, X-1 has brought you Wherever You May Be, a story from the pages of Galaxy written by James E. Gunn and adapted for radio by Ernest Kenoy. Featured in the cast were William Redfield, Patsy O'Shea, and Jack Orrison. Your announcer, Fred Collins. X-1 was directed by Daniel Sutter and is an NBC Radio Network production.
Be sure to hear X-1 one half hour earlier next week over most NBC radio stations. Check your local newspaper for the exact time. This is the NBC Radio Network. In just a moment, X-1. But first, a quiz program does not always improve your IQ. But what's an NBC radio quiz program? Well, you can be sure it'll improve your disposition. Yes, NBC offers listeners a laugh lesson every Wednesday night with two fun-filled question-and-answer shows. One is Truth or Consequences, and though you may never learn why a chicken crosses the road, you'll howl as contestants perform the stunts dreamed up by MC Jack Bailey. The other is You Bet Your Life, and with a quizmaster like Groucho Marx, your good time is always guaranteed. Hear Truth or Consequences and You Bet Your Life with Groucho Marx tomorrow. Now stay tuned for X-1 on NBC.
Countdown for blast-off. X-5, 4, 3, 2, X-1, fire. From the far horizons of the unknown come transcribed tales of new dimensions in time and space. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in a million, could be years, on 1,000 maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Galaxy's science fiction magazine, presents
X-1.
Tonight, Project Trojan by Ernest Kenoy. Most of the greatest contributions and biggest messes in history have been made by two kinds of brains, the devious and the literal. We quote from the monthly column written for Galaxy by its editor, H.L. Gold. For our story tonight has been inspired by one of his recent columns, discussing the exceedingly thin line that sometimes lies between science fiction and science fact, and of the strange use that both Allied and German intelligence made of science fiction during the recent World War II. Our report, of course, is entirely fictional, but similar schemes are known to have been attempted by both sides. And now, here is Project Trojan.
The idea of Project Trojan was originally conceived in February of 1943. The Intelligence Plans Commission, an adjunct to Joint Army and Naval Intelligence, was under the command of Colonel Sir Harold Bostwick. The first antecedent of Project Trojan occurred on an afternoon in February. Corporal Arthur Muggeridge was serving tea to Lieutenant Morris Withering and Captain Amos Mackenzie.
Here you are, sir. That's real butter on the bread. I won 5 pounds of it from one of those Yank mess sergeants over at the Crown and Lance.
Oh, butter, eh?
Aye, sir.
Mackenzie. Well, confounded man, you might show some interest. Here Muggeridge tangles with the 8th Air Force to improve your tea, and you sit there reading. What the devil is so engrossing?
No, never mind. If it's me you're worrying about, you needn't, sir. I was cleared for most confidential and top secret before I set foot in the pantry.
What is it, Mackenzie?
Well, I was reading about a fascinating notion. It's a machine, you see, dreadfully ingenious. It's a method of setting up a reverse polarization field about a given metallic surface. Say, the plates on a submarine or a tank. Makes them 5 times as strong. A little more cream, Muggeridge.
It's powdered milk, sir.
Hush, leave me to my illusions.
Well, Mackenzie, how can you be so calm? Don't you realize what this means? Tanks 5 times as strong? Is it in production? I mean, when are the first models going to combat? It's certainly been a well-kept secret.
I wouldn't say that. There's about 50,000 people who know all about it here in England. And, of course, a great many more in America.
Oh, that's impossible.
But I doubt if it will ever be used in combat.
You're stark raving crackers. A secret like... Where did you find this? Now, let me see that.
There you are.
Incredible science fiction.
It's an American magazine.
You mean this is a story, one of those Jules Verne things? You've been pulling my leg.
Aye?
Well, I mean, after all... Well, Captain Mackenzie, I hardly think that... Well...
Now, don't get stuffy, man.
After all, you chaff me before the ranks.
Well, I don't mind, sir.
But it did have you going, didn't it?
Well, it sounded plausible. I don't know a confounded thing about electrical fields.
Even if you did, it might take you in, huh? You see, the trick these science fiction lads do is to take something that's solid as a rock and then to push it just a wee bit forward till you simply can't tell where the science ends and the fiction begins.
Still, I wish you'd exercise your ingenuity on deceiving Jerry rather than me.
Good Lord. That's a fine idea.
What is?
If an intelligent, brilliant officer and gentleman like yourself might be taken in by a wild tale like this, whom else's leg might we pull? Huh? Muggeridge, another bread and butter sandwich, if you please, and take one yourself.
Lieutenant Withering and Captain Mackenzie worked out preliminary plans for Project Trojan and presented them at an appropriate time to Colonel Sir Harold Bostwick.
Sit down, Withering, Mackenzie.
Thank you, sir.
We had breakfast. I understand Corporal Muggeridge has been playing darts with the Yanks again for fresh eggs for breakfast.
We've had breakfast, sir.
Oh, well, then.
We have a plan, sir.
Oh, capital, capital.
You remember, sir, our intelligence reports indicated a concentration of German research scientists working near Hanau.
Certainly, I recall. They've got the whole lot of them inside a mountain. We tried bombing. I doubt if they even noticed.
They're supplying the basic research for the German guided missile program.
Yes, we know that. The reaction motor for the V1s came out of the Hanau lab. Oh, Muggeridge!
You see, sir, if a considerable number of those research scientists were diverted to another project, the rocket program would be crippled.
Yes, well, of course it would. What are you going to do? Advertise in the Times and offer them higher wages?
I said...
Oh, Muggeridge, this coffee.
No, sir.
Next time you go to the Crown and Lance, keep coffee in mind, will you?
Aye, sir. Only the Yanks are getting fair dives at darts. It was touch and go with the eggs.
Oh, we can only expect you to do your best.
I'll try, sir.
Well, now, come to the point, gentlemen.
Suppose the Germans got hold of one of our top new development weapons. Something so completely overwhelming that they'd have to pull almost every man off rockets to work on it.
Now, look here, Mackenzie. Those Jerry scientists are not exactly playing about with small boys' chemistry sets. They're a cut above our own chaps in several fields. What makes you think you could plant something on them?
Science fiction, sir.
I beg your pardon?
Do you see this magazine?
Yes, incredible science fiction. What's that chasing that girl there?
That's a Martian, sir. You can tell by his tentacles.
Mackenzie, are you stringing this along preliminary to applying for compassionate leave on the grounds that you're overworked?
No, sir. It's a good plan. We invent a weapon that might exist but doesn't. And we leave it lying about where the Germans can snap it.
And then they take most of the scientist fellows off the rocket program to work on our weapon.
And that's the most preposterous nonsense I've ever heard.
But, sir...
I don't want to hear anything more about it.
Yes, sir. I suppose she was right.
Who was right?
This Wren. I met her going up to London. Rather proper little type till you got to know her. But then she's rather a firebrand.
Captain Mackenzie, please spare us the sordid details of your off-duty speculations.
Sorry, sir. You see, she's the secretary to Admiral Sir Alan Grummins. They're talking of dropping this unit. They feel that other intelligence groups are quite competent to handle the routine, unimaginative work that we've been doing.
Oh, I see.
Of course, they'd reassign personnel.
Would you say this science fiction scheme of yours was imaginative?
Oh, it's practically visionary.
Well, suppose you do some preliminary work.
Thank you, sir.
Routine, eh? Unimaginative, eh? Bah!
On the 14th of February, preliminary work was begun on Project Trojan. At first, Lieutenant Withering and Captain Mackenzie worked alone, researching the source material of the project.
Slamming the firing keys, brick blasted down on Krull warship. Bright beams of crisp destruction lanced out from the giant dreadnought and licked along the plates of Brick's one-man scout.
Nothing in that one.
What have you got?
It's a story about two robots who fall in love.
What's the name of that Johnny who came closest?
Herman. Jad Herman.
He got half a dozen ideas that are close. Where do you suppose he is?
Somewhere in the States, I suppose.
That's no use, then.
Why? Look, man, perhaps we can put a query through Central Chafe Intelligence. The Yanks ought to be able to dig up this Herman chap for us.
No. It's worth a try.
It took 7 days for a report to reach IPC that one Jacob David Herman, a private first class in the American Air Force, was based on the field north of Cheltenham in the Gloucestershire area. Lieutenant Withering and Captain Mackenzie requisitioned transport and visited Herman at his place of duty.
You don't mind if I go ahead with my job, do you? I gotta have this place ready for inspection by 1300.
Go right ahead.
Hand me the cleaning powder, will you, please?
Oh, yes.
Say, what do they put in porcelain in England? You break your arm trying to get it clean.
Private Herman. You are Jad Herman, writer?
Yeah, that's a pen name, Jad. I use it for SF stuff. I used to write for the Confessions under the name of Cynthia Herman. I remember one article. I was saved by the YWCA from a life of shame.
We're interested in your science fiction articles at the moment.
Oh, yeah? Well, I knew we had some sci-fi fans in England.
Well, we're not exactly sci-fi fans. We're from... Anybody else here?
Well, look for yourself. There's no hiding place down here.
Well, we're from Intelligence Plans Commission.
Uh-huh.
We need your assistance, Mr. Herman.
No kidding.
We have a project that calls for your particular talents.
You got a latrine needs cleaning?
We're quite serious, Mr. Herman. Will you kindly pack your things and be ready to come with us within 1 hour?
Oh, I'm sorry, gentlemen. I couldn't possibly leave until after inspection. I've got too much of myself invested in this latrine. But after that, I'm at your service.
Private First Class Jacob D. Herman, 329-62126, was transferred on special detached duty to Project Trojan, and after briefing was set to work on basic plans.
Now, look, Mac, here's the way I see it. If you want to con a scientist, you got to be pretty straight all the way. You can't get away with more than one phony step in the process.
Precisely.
Now, here's the way I see it. It's a focusing beam weapon. The electronics on that are square. I used it in a story about 2 years ago. Feinschreiber at MIT and Temple and Westover at the Bell Telephone Laboratories worked out the basic field formulas.
What do you mean it's real?
Well, up to a point. Everything's on the level till you get to the catalytic action on the grid. Now, that just won't work. It's a basic problem in physics, and it makes the whole thing impossible.
But don't the Germans know that?
Oh, sure. You see, you make up plans for the weapon, call it a death ray. You let the Germans steal everything but the catalyst formula. They'll think we've got it licked, and they'll break their necks trying to duplicate it before we put the weapon in production.
I see. But we can't call it a death ray.
Well, how about projector, electronic grid deflecting type 3?
That is a broad ring to it, my lad.
I've got the basic idea of the thing, but you'll have to get some of your science boys to work it out.
We'll put a requisition into the Manpower Commission in the morning.
Doctors Montague, Felder, Harrison, Seisenby, and Pilsudski were assigned to Project Trojan, and under the direction of Private First Class Jacobs, complete specifications and plans for projector electronic grid deflecting type 3 were drawn up. Project Trojan was ready for Phase 2.
Have we got everything? Blueprints? Check. Specifications? Check. Machine tool inventories? Check. Letter rejecting the plans from the War Office? Check. Endorsement from Supreme Headquarters rejecting plans? Check. Note from 10 Downing Street overriding rejections, handwritten postscript, build the confounded thing, WC?
Check. Don't you think that's going a little too far, the rejections?
Not at all. That's the master touch. A rejection of an idea by the War Office makes it appear most genuine. All right. Private Herman, if this thing were real, if it could be built, what would it do?
Oh, don't ask. You could blow a hole in a mountain 10 miles away. Well, you could knock down a whole wing of bombers without even aiming.
Oh, dear. Lucky it won't work.
I should say so. Oh, well, now to get this lovely thing into Jerry's hands.
Phase 3 of Project Trojan was commenced on the 15th of March, 1943. Central Counterintelligence Agency had discovered the infiltration of a German agent, a Belfast Irishman named Gogarty, into the blueprint division of Clark and Porchester, a printing firm doing some subcontract work for the Air Ministry. Gogarty, the German agent, presumably microfilmed the plans because shortly thereafter he received word that his sister, living in the Irish Free State, was to be married to a bus conductor. British agents attending the wedding disguised as farm labourers lost track of Gogarty for several hours due to circumstances beyond their control.
Then we have no way of knowing whether Gogarty delivered the Project Trojan plans.
Well, sir, there was a submarine sighted a day before off the coast. It's likely he made contact.
Well, keep me informed. That's all we need now, another disaster.
Did something else go wrong?
Oh, Dolly Bell right. Muggeridge has been playing darts with the Yanks again.
Oh? What have we got this time? Butter or beefsteak?
Nothing. The blight has lost my whole month's whiskey ration.
Now the cover operation supporting Project Trojan was undertaken. A battalion of the Royal Engineers was detailed to practice at secret installations with wooden mock-ups of the projector. A lance corporal in this detachment, a volunteer afterwards awarded the George Medal, was court-martialed and sentenced to 7 years hard labour for revealing information about the project while drunk on a 3-day leave to Tynecastle. This particular aspect of Project Trojan has been in the news recently, inasmuch as several backbench Labour members of Parliament have asked questions in the House, as it came out that the corporal served the full 7 years and wasn't released until 1951. The Home Secretary explained that this was an unfortunate oversight, and there were jeers from the opposition, with Mr. Annoyden Bevan taking the occasion to call for the resignation of the government. At the time, March and April 1943, the Intelligence Plans Commission awaited reports from British operatives.
Sir, there's been a shift in assignment at the research laboratories at Hanau. Professor Schlickmann and Doctors Hirsch, Van Sulau, and Grishman have been transferred from rocket research to another project.
Trojan?
We must assume so.
But that's only 4 men.
But they're the top experts in electronics, chemistry, and metallurgy. If they're really working on Trojan, we've set the German rocket program back a year, while their scientists go yelping off after a red herring.
Well, let's hope so. Bring me any further reports as soon as received.
British intelligence reports filtering back through occupied Norway and neutral Sweden continued to indicate the success of Project Trojan. 4 more top scientists were known to be transferred from the rocket research base at Peenemünde to the Hanau laboratories. Definite knowledge was obtained that the new assignment was a startling new weapon, agreeing in detail with Project Trojan.
What a sally, Mackenzie. What a stunt.
Yes, sir.
We shall have to have a little party to celebrate. We'll have that Herman chap in for a drink. I'm sending Muggeridge off to play darts with some of the Free French over at Germain Manor. He ought to be back soon with the champagne. Pour all round. Private Herman?
Thank you.
All right now, to the projector, electronic grid deflecting type 3. The biggest fraud since the South Sea bubble.
Colonel Bostwick.
Oh, Withering, take a glass. We're just thinking to Trojan.
Well, I think I'd rather not, sir.
What do you mean?
There's a dispatch from Germany.
What about it?
A section of the mountain overlooking Hanau has disappeared.
What?
It's true. It was on the reconnaissance maps yesterday, and it was gone this morning. A 10-mile slice of mountain.
That's impossible.
Oh, it isn't. It works. Trojan works.
But it can't. There's no catalyst. It's impossible. All our scientists said so.
Well, I guess they were wrong. It works.
They must have found the catalyst.
I suppose we should have foreseen that. All those scientists working on it.
They must have built the model and tried it out.
It won't take them more than 3 months to put it into production.
Well, there goes the war.
Muggeridge.
Aye, sir.
Fill the glasses up again.
Intelligence Plans Commission now waited for additional dispatches concerning the reaction to Project Trojan in Germany. It was decided as a matter of policy to confine knowledge of these latest developments to the personnel of the project.
Anything new, Mackenzie?
No, sir, except that aerial reconnaissance confirms the damage to the mountain at Hanau. It's not quite as extensive as the first dispatch, but it is a bit of a hole.
Oh, what do they think caused it?
The Air Ministry seems to feel that an ammunition dump must have blown up.
Couldn't that be it?
I'm afraid not, sir. We have an intelligence report about several captured British and American tanks being brought to Hanau for testing. They were spotted the next day, completely destroyed.
Trojan?
Trojan. There's been an alert at factories producing parts for V1 and V2 rockets to prepare for retooling.
Going to make the projector?
It would seem so, sir.
Well, I suppose I'd better go up to London tomorrow and make a clean breast of it.
I'm afraid so, sir.
Well, that's the end. Seems rather unsporting, doesn't it? Just handing the war over to them. I hate to think what the War Office will say. Not to mention the Prime Minister.
Project Trojan was nearing its closing phase. At precisely 0600 the next morning, Colonel Sir Harold Bostwick ordered his staff car and, taking a thermos of tea, proceeded to leave his office. Just before the staff car got underway, Lieutenant Withering appeared with another dispatch, accompanied by Captain Mackenzie and Private Herman.
Colonel Bostwick, sir. Wait.
So what is it, Withering?
Another dispatch.
Well, don't please. It's bad enough.
There's been another disaster at Hanau.
They knocked another mountain with our little present to them?
No, sir. They've knocked themselves out.
What?
The laboratory under the mountain. It's exploded.
It has?
Went up like a Roman candle. We've got pictures. There was a flight of mosquito bombers over at the time.
What happened?
The projector. It backfired.
How do you know?
It had to. That's why the catalyst is impossible. You see, the metal fatigue on the grid is a function of...
Never mind. Are you sure?
Yes, sir. We have a reliable agent's report. The Germans are completely confused. They were operating the projector under a top-secret designation. Nobody knew any of the details except the dozen scientists working on it. And they were inside the laboratory when it blew. Our man was in the rescue squad. There isn't a thing left, sir. Plans, models, or scientists.
Sir, do you realize that Project Trojan was a success? We've diverted a dozen top scientists from the rocket program permanently. Well, do you think we'll be decorated?
Lieutenant Withering, inasmuch as we came particularly close to handing the whole war to the Germans on a silver platter, I suggest we forget Project Trojan.
Oh, yes. Yes, I see. Of course.
You're very canny, sir.
I think we had all better return to precisely what we were doing before the whole nasty mess started.
The final phase of Project Trojan was completed on the 22nd of March, 1943. The file, through some inadvertent error, was lost before the Intelligence Plans Commission had a chance to report to the War Office. All personnel returned to their previous assignment.
All right. No splashing on the floor. I gotta get this latrine ready for inspection by 1300.
You have just heard X-1, presented by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, which this month features the William Tenn novelette, Time in Advance, the story of a man who made a strange bargain and endured the worst the galaxy had to offer, so that someday he could make the Earth sweat. Galaxy Magazine, on your newsstand today. Tonight, by transcription, X-1 has brought you Project Trojan, an original story by Ernest Kenoy based on an idea contained in an editorial in Galaxy written by H.L. Gold. Featured in the cast were Burford Hampton,
Alastair Duncan, Ivor Francis, Alfred Shirley, Bill Quinn, and your narrator was Alfred Hislop. Your announcer, Fred Collins. X-1 was directed by Daniel Sutter and is an NBC Radio Network production.
Countdown for blast off. X-5, 4, 3, 2, X-1, fire. From the far horizons of the unknown come transcribed tales of new dimensions in time and space. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in a million, could be years, on 1,000 maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, presents
X-1.
Tonight, the Murray Leinster story, If You Was a Moklin.
Up to the last minute, I can't imagine that Moklin is going to be the first planet that humans get off of. Moving fast, breathing hard, and sweating copious. There isn't any reason for it. Everything was all quiet at the trading post. I was sitting on the front porch while Deeth, he's the Moklin clerk, looks a lot like a guy named Casey, used to be a wiper on the Palmyra. He comes out on the porch.
Brinkley?
Morning, Deeth. How's business?
Yeah, not so good. There were a few wood Moklins in this morning.
Yeah, I saw him. Kind of nice looking. Those big saucer eyes. And what makes the noses wiggle like rabbits?
Well, I don't know, sir. I'm not a woods Moklin.
Oh, sure. No offense. They buy much?
No, they didn't. They said the prices were too high.
Oh.
Yeah, they said they can get the same goods at the other trading post for half price.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to run a nice little monopoly for the company with another trading post opening up at half price.
What is it, sir?
Look at that little kid playing in the mud.
You mean the Moklin kid? Yeah, it's my cousin's niece.
I can't get over those little kids with the droopy mustaches like old man Bland. I gotta laugh every time.
Well, I understand. But you see, Moklins are getting much more human every day.
Hey, look at that. There go the trees on the landing field.
Yeah, but the relief ship isn't due for a month.
I never knew those trees to get up and walk away if there wasn't a ship due in. Yeah, there goes old Sally pulling up her roots. This can't be any routine ship. I wish Brooks was back from the hills. Hey, Captain Heine! Over here!
Come on, let go of my hand. Yeah, nice to see you all again. Friends, yeah, sure. Friends. Yeah, I wish those Moklins were a little less friendly each time. It's like being a movie star.
Captain Haney?
Hey, what's that? We didn't send in a requisition for anything like that. Red hair and everything else.
Captain?
Relax, Brinkley. That is Inspector Caldwell. She's a troubleshooter for Sam Company.
They must have finally read those reports Brooks keeps sending in.
Look out for her. Good morning, Miss Caldwell.
Inspector Caldwell, please.
This is Joe Brinkley. He's the assistant manager of the company post.
Where's Brooks?
He's up in the mountains, ma'am.
We should have been here. I'm on Moklin to check into this matter of a competitive trading post. Who's back of it? The company is supposed to have exclusive trading rights.
Brooks is trying to find out. The Moklins around the place always say the humans are off somewhere hunting or something. We've never seen them. Hey, take the lady's luggage.
Yes, sir. It's a pleasure.
Oh, he looks a little familiar, your clerk.
He's a Moklin, but he looks a lot like a man used to be a wiper on the Palmyra, Casey. I think he's on the Aldebaran run now.
Please conduct me to the trading post.
That afternoon, Brooks come down out of the hills with a bunch of woods Moklins that were guiding him. I took Inspector Caldwell over to meet him, and he gets one look at her red hair and other equipment, and he stops short.
Hey, what's this? She Moklin?
I beg your pardon?
This is Inspector Caldwell. She come in on a Palmyra today. This is Brooks, the head trader.
Well, am I glad to see you. I guess they finally read my reports in sector headquarters. You've come to check my request that the planet be abandoned?
Not at all. Moklin has great potentialities. Friendly natives. Trade should continue and increase.
I explained.
All I'm interested in is why you allowed a competitive post to be established in our exclusive territory.
My reports cover that. Haven't you read them?
Of course not. I was given a briefing on the situation here and told to correct it. Well, now, let's get to it. Do they cut prices?
50%.
Yeah, but lots of Moklins still trade with us, just out of friendship. They're real friendly, these Moklins.
Now, I'd like to know just...
Excuse me, Mr. Brinkley.
What is it, Tate?
A girl just brought you a compliment.
Oh? Well, now send her in and get a present for her.
Yes, sir.
50%. Well, if they want a trade war, we'll give it to them. We can cut prices if we have to. We have all the resources of the company behind us.
Dear Miss Caldwell, if you'd read any of my...
Inspector Caldwell.
Here she is, Mr. Brinkley.
Compliments, sir. Compliments.
Wow. Let's see him.
He's asleep.
Well, look at that. Ears like mine. The same bastion nose and everything. What do you know? Kitty. Hey, what's your name?
Morano.
I can't remember ever seeing you before. Well, that's the way it goes. They take her in the post and give her a present.
This way.
Thanks for the compliment. I'm greatly honored. Yeah, it's real cute, ain't it? Real human.
Human? Brinkley, you are going to be transferred out of here the instant the Palmyra gets back.
Why? You mean that girl? I'm giving her a present. What's the matter?
That's all you think about it? The callousness. You're revolting.
Miss Caldwell, I'm afraid maybe you don't exactly understand about parallel evolution here in Moklin.
I gather it's been parallel enough. That will be all on that subject, if you please. In the morning, I shall want to go and inspect that other trading post.
We set out for the trading post the next day. Brooks stayed behind on account of he was peeved that she hadn't read his report. Anyway, she was cute as the bug, and he resented anyone with a figure like that in authority over him, especially without reading his report. I tried to explain to Miss Caldwell that we just couldn't go in and rip up the opposition post.
Why not? They're poaching.
Moklins imitate humans. Now, if we start trouble, they'll start it too. Anything. Mayhem, murder, theft, bigamy.
Bigamy? You're worried about that?
Listen, Miss Caldwell, you've got to understand about Moklin evolution.
I'm not interested.
Yeah, here, wait a minute. Now, this is a nest bush, see? There's about a dozen nests on it. Now, only about 2 of them are right. Look.
Oh, there's a bird.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Now, see, the bush grows nests for the cacklebird, and the bird, well, fertilizes around the bush. It's even Steven. See, that's the way evolution works on Moklin, like we were trying to tell you.
Mr. Brinkley, I am not interested in learning about the birds and the bees on Moklin or any other planet from you. Now, let's get on to that trading post.
Naturally, when we got there, there was only a couple of Moklins hanging around. They told us the same story about the humans having gone off somewhere hunting donderflies. When we got back to the company post, Inspector Caldwell, furious as a wet cacklebird, marched right into Brooks.
I have just ordered a price cut on all items on sale by 75%. I've also ordered unlimited credit for Moklin customers. They want a trade war over there? I'll give it to them.
But you don't understand. There's a whole planet where they could have put another trading post without being discovered. Why put it so close to us?
That furnishes them with a ready-made market for human trade goods. And it furnished them with Moklins trained to be interpreters and clerks. And it furnished them with a Moklin head clerk who was a very handsome young man, Mr. Brooks. He not only resembles you in every feature, but he even has a good many of your mannerisms. You should be very proud. Goodbye.
That's funny. Like me, huh?
That's right. Spitting image.
Funny as folks never brought him for a compliment present. How good's the likeness?
If he was wearing your clothes, I'd swear it was you.
Maybe. Joe, remember that time you went off hunting with Deeth and his folks?
Yeah, sure. We were after donderflies. We caught about 6 of them.
You were wearing Moklin clothes, weren't you?
Oh, you know how they are. You're insulted if you don't.
Listen, did you come back after one day for tobacco and a bath?
No. No, we were way over at Dunlip Hill. Some Moklin got killed there. We had to bury him. It took 2 days.
Well, during that week, while you were off wearing Moklin clothes, somebody came back here wearing your clothes. He got some tobacco and went out again. He looked just like you, Joe. Exactly. Nobody suspected it wasn't you.
Why should he want to do that?
He might have been checking to see if he could fool me.
Oh, that's a situation, ain't it?
I haven't mentioned it before, but I've been guessing it's something like this. Moklins like to be human, and they have kids that look human. Look at the difference between Deeth and the Woods Moklin. Well, maybe they can want to be smart like humans. And pretty soon they are, or their kids are. That rival trading post.
You figure there aren't any humans running it?
They're practicing with that.
You mean they might figure to get rid of us and have a couple of Moklins take our place? I don't believe that. Moklins like humans. They wouldn't harm humans for anything. They like to be just like them.
Listen, Joe. Miss Caldwell is the first human woman on Moklin, isn't she?
Yeah? Why?
And she's got red hair. The first woman the Moklins see, and with red hair. You know how Moklins admire humans. With luck, it ought to turn up soon. Boy, she's going to take it hard if it does. Women hate to be wrong. But it's about our only chance. Listen, Joe, we've got to have some check between us.
What for?
Well, if there's a Moklin that looks like me and one that looks like you, we better have a signal. Look, I'll cough twice, like this. And you whistle back. That way we'll know it's us.
Okay.
Try it. Good, good. That way we'll know we're us.
Brooks starts off the next morning to visit the other trading post and see the Moklin that looks so much like him. Before he goes, we do our little routine. It's about 2 weeks till the Palmyra is due back. That's pretty close figuring, waiting for what we're waiting for. I was thinking how good life was on Moklin up to now, and that made me kind of a little sad. But it's the end, there's no doubt about it. Moklin sure admire humans. They produce kids that look like them. You can't help liking Moklins. But I can see what Brooks means. Moklin's loose among humans, outsmarting them as their kids grow up, just about taking over in the galaxy. When they come back from the other trading post, we went through the secret business again. In the meantime, Inspector Caldwell was busy with her trade war. She cut prices once, twice, finally 6 times, until 3 days before the Palmyra is due back, our goods are marked at exactly 1% of what they cost the month before. Brooks was getting more and more nervous. Seemed like he was falling kind of in love with a snappy little inspector. He was getting jumpy waiting for her to get her big surprise. She was making out merchandise requisitions one morning when Deep come in smiling friendly at her.
Inspector Caldwell?
Oh, what is it, Deeth?
There's a compliment for you.
What?
3 of them.
What is he talking about?
Joe, this is it. Deep, show him in.
Now, look, I haven't got time for public relations. These inventories are...
Here we are.
Inspector Caldwell, 3 compliments.
Compliment, compliment, compliment.
Now, let's see him.
Very pretty, very human, no?
Oh, no. No, that's impossible. No.
Very pretty. Red hair, all 3 of them. Red hair.
Very pretty red hair. Same as human lady. Very pretty.
All right, Deep, take her out and give her some presents.
This way. Come on.
But that's impossible. Those babies, 3 of them, they couldn't.
They do. They look exactly like you. That's what we were trying to tell you.
I've only been here a month.
Moklin babies get born real fast. They sure admire humans. It's kind of friendly when you think about it.
You mean they can make their babies look like anybody they want?
It was all in my reports. They've got a queer sort of evolution here on Moklin. Babies here inherit desired characteristics, not acquired characteristics, desired ones. And what could be more desirable than you? Red hair and all.
Oh, but I thought, you and Brinkley... Oh.
You couldn't help it, dear, really.
But I hated you. I thought that...
Now, look, darling. Joe.
Yeah?
Do me a favor, will you?
Sure, what?
Get out of here.
Oh, okay.
And stay away for a while.
Sure, only one thing.
What?
That's... Okay. Then I'll leave you 2 together. About 2 days later, the Palmyra boomed down out of the sky. We were all packed up waiting on the field when the trees finished getting out of the way. I kept thinking, no matter what, Moklin sure are friendly. They sure do admire humans. I could see them crew members with Liberty heading off from the field with a whole gang of laughing, singing Moklins, following each one of them. After a while, Cap Haney came over in a freight truck.
It's a pleasure, I tell you, to see these Moklins. I just came here from Welch's planet. The natives there are suspicious, unfriendly, and if you're not watching, they'll steal your gold teeth. But Moklin...
Captain Haney, don't give orders to unload your cargo.
What do you mean?
We are abandoning the post.
What?
We are leaving Moklin completely.
Sam Company pulling out when there's still a milk credit to be made? I don't believe it.
I have authority to order the move, and Mr. Brooks has convinced me of the necessity for it.
Now, Inspector, I know the company doesn't like to give in to competition.
There isn't any competition.
Well, I thought...
Miss Caldwell's right. That other trading post is purely a Moklin enterprise. They bought our goods from us and pretended to sell them at half price, and we cut our prices, so they bought more goods from us and went on. Some Moklin must have thought it'd be nice to be a smart businessman, so his kids would be smart businessmen. Too smart. We'll close up this post before the Moklins think of something else.
What? What could they think of?
If they got loose from this planet, if they can pass as humans, their kids could take over human civilization. How would you like that?
Oh, I see, yeah.
You'd better make ready to blast off, Captain.
Yeah, but I got the B section off on shore liberty. Men are scattered all over the place.
With Moklins?
Sure, with Moklins. You know how it is. Regular party. Fancy Moklin clothes, food, liquor.
Captain, you'd better sound the emergency recall.
Yeah, I see what you mean right away. Well, that accounts for all but about 5 of them.
They're coming across the field now.
Keep that line straight for the hatch. We got to count off.
4, 5. Yeah, they're all in line.
I'll check against the roster.
Wait a minute, there's another one coming. Look. Why that tree?
There can't be. I got 38 men lined up already. 38, that's a full count.
That's a human.
He's wearing Moklin clothes.
It looks like Pete Werber from the engine crew.
Hey, wait. Wait for me. Wait.
Yeah, but it can't be. Werber's already checked in. There he is in line.
Wait for me.
Hey, where'd you come from?
I couldn't find my clothes. You see, I was in these Moklin clothes when the signal went off. I was trying to find my clothes.
Werber, look over there in the line.
Where? Hey, that's my clothes. That guy. He looks just like me. Now, what's the idea?
Hey, you! Come over here.
Yes, sir.
What's the idea?
All right, you caught me. I'm a Moklin.
He stole my clothes.
Why did you do it?
Well, we Moklins like humans so much, I thought it would be nice to make a trip to Earth and see more humans.
How come he looks like me?
My parents planned it 5 years ago when you came here first. They made me look like this wonderful human and hid me till now.
Now, you give me back my clothes.
Well, of course. I wouldn't want to make any difficulties for humans.
He took it as a joke on him. He talked English as good as anybody. It was hard to tell which was the Moklin and which the human guy. So we let him keep the human uniform, and he was very grateful. We took off after that, and the Moklin stood around and laughed and waved and threw flowers as we closed the hatches. Pretty soon the Palmyra was pushing up through the atmosphere. And just before the auxiliary circuits went on during the jump to overdrive, we all stood around in the astrogator's dome with the screen turned up to high mag and watched as Moklin faded into a round cantaloupe behind us.
It's a shame. Sure was a pretty planet. Real friendly.
Too friendly. I still have the shivers, thinking we almost took a Moklin off with us.
The other crew had been on Moklin long enough to have a double. 5 years is a safety margin. Takes them that long to grow up.
We were lucky, huh, Joe?
Huh? What?
I said we were lucky.
Yeah. We sure are. I guess I was the only one who felt a little different from the others about leaving Moklin. I mean, Moklin's are swell folks, and it seemed a shame. There'll be an order out that no human ship is allowed to land on Moklin. But I was thinking, I'll save my money, and those compliments, those 3 little kids that look just like Inspector Caldwell, in about 5 years they'll be grown. And I'll buy me a little private ship and shove off from Moklin again. And I'll pick me one of those 3 red-headed gals and marry her Moklin style, and bring her out to a human colony planet. I'll have kids with brains, top-level brains. That's easy. If she wants it, that's the way the kids will be born. I'll have to bring other Moklins out, too, and start them passing for humans. My kids are going to need other Moklins to marry, aren't they? It's not that I don't like humans. I do. If the fellow I look like, Joe Brinkley, hadn't gotten killed accidental on that hunting trip, I never would have thought of taking his place and being Joe Brinkley. That's what I was thinking when Brooks suddenly got an idea.
Wait a minute. Joe, you and I were on Moklin more than 5 years.
Yeah? So?
One thing. And everything's all right.
I mean, you can't blame me for wanting to live among humans, can you? Wouldn't you, if you was a Moklin?
You have just heard X-1, presented by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, which this month features another fascinating For Your Information column written by Willie Lay. Galaxy Magazine, on your newsstand today. Tonight, by transcription, X-1 has brought you If You Was a Moklin, a story from the pages of Galaxy written by Murray Leinster and adapted for radio by Ernest Kenoy. Featured in the cast were Joseph Julian, Patricia Wheel, Carl Weber, Ralph Camargo, Helen Gerald, Stan Early, John Marley, and Dick Janiver. Your announcer, Fred Collins. X-1 was directed by Daniel Sutter and is an NBC Radio Network production.
Next week, listen to Project Trojan, an original story by Ernest Kenoy on X-1. Follow the news with Chet Huntley tonight on NBC Radio.
The OTRR Group is a community of enthusiastic fans, avid listeners, and strong supporters of old-time radio. The group's goals include restoring, preserving, and sharing the classic shows from what is commonly known as the Golden Age of Radio, 1930 to 1960. The OTRR Group, comprised of a diverse worldwide group of volunteers, has undertaken many ongoing projects and continues to work hard to preserve our wonderful radio heritage. Visit www.otrr.org for more information.
Looking to conquer the world of WordPress? Whether you're just starting or a seasoned pro, we've got you covered at G3PL.com. We're your ultimate destination for WordPress support and training. Our personalized training will take your skills to the next level. Learn to build stunning websites, optimize performance, and enhance security. But wait, there's more. Need help with a specific project? Facing a tricky plugin or theme issue? We've got your back. We will troubleshoot, customize, and fine-tune your site to perfection. And here's the best part, it's all tailored to your needs and goals. Don't settle for cookie-cutter solutions. Get the support you deserve with G3PL.com. Join countless satisfied clients who have supercharged their websites with our help. So, why wait? Take the leap into WordPress greatness. Contact us today at WP@G3PL.com or give us a call at 615-420-2040. G3PL.com. Your WordPress success starts here.